This is the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
No matter how much you wiggle and dance, the last few drops always land in your pants.
Sam Ballard Jr.
I can barely last half an hour.
Neil Rutt III.
I'm a motherfucking dwarf.
Nick Rendo.
Luigi follow on with the Ferraris.
And Josh Matthews.
I learned that 57 is an even number.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the RPM Podcast. Of course, I'm Eric Brennan. Also joining us today, we have Sam Ballard Jr., live from the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. Josh Matthews in the Matthews Family Studios in Waretown. And in the newly formed Edge of Divorce Motorsports Studios, we also got Scott Riggleman, fresh from the trip from Florida. What's up, Scott?
What's up, guys?
Now, obviously, one thing that's been going around, which many of us are kind of hurting from, and Scott, we're going to get more into this a little bit later on, but just a few days ago, Scott actually lost his father, Sam, who was well known at Wall Stadium Speedway. In fact, he was the patriarch of the Riggleman racing family. And Scott politely said that a little bit later on, we're going to take some time to remember Sam and his racing duties. So we thought it would be appropriate to mention Sam. And of course, we're all kind of reeling from that, and it's been rather tough. But Scott paid the ultimate tribute to him over the weekend, and he's really excited to tell us a little bit more about that in just a short while. However, before we get into that, we want to talk about some of the stuff that's been going on at the big track down in Florida, and that was, of course, at the Daytona International Speedway. Now, qualifying went off on Sunday, and Alex Bowman backed up the success that Hendrick Motorsports has had in qualifying by winning the pole with Denny Hamlin on the outside of the front row. Now, granted, there is one topic of conversation, though, that has come out of what we saw Sunday. It was not qualifying. It was, in fact, the clash, and that was the style of racing that we've seen. And, gentlemen, I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of the rule changes that have taken place thus far, but they do consist of the fact that, granted, there is no ride height. That's something which they had last year, but the teams now have more control of the suspension setup, most notably the springs and the shocks that they are putting on these cars, and it's really making them look a little bit more edgy, look a little bit more dodgy, and really low to the ground in the back end. The racing was intense for the first half of the race, while things kind of calmed down a little bit in the second half. But Brad Keselowski still found a way to go from the back of the pack up to the front to win his first win ever in Speed Weeks, but another win for Keselowski on a plate track. Now, gentlemen, I don't know who had a chance to watch the clash. Scott, I know you were Scott, I know you were busy down in Florida that weekend. I was on the edge of my seat for the first half of that race. Obviously, things got a little bit settled down a little bit later on, and then the things ended the way that we thought it would, with a crash in the last lap and Keselowski kind of walking away with it. But I'm excited. I'm excited for what we're going to see Thursday in the qualifying races, and I'm more so excited for what we're going to see in the 500, because these cars look like they're on edge, and usually on these plate tracks, they look so stuck to the ground where it doesn't seem like there's a lot of talent involved in being able to make your way through the pack. You're just kind of, not even on the edge of your seat anymore. And we saw hands flying and cars stepping out sideways, and it was fun to watch. I'm excited for the rest of Speed Week. Sam, I don't know if you got to see the race or not, but what are your thoughts after what we saw in that little appetizer on Sunday?
I mean, I saw the race. I thought it was a great race. I'm a huge fan when they all get lined up and just follow the leader for the, 25 laps or so. I like that. I think it takes a lot of skill, but, I'm boring. I guess I agree with Nick Rendo when it comes to racing.
No, Sam, they saw the ARCA race and said, yeah, no, we don't want to do that. Right. So they were saving the cars, and I think that's actually a very smart move. We saw that, I think, at Wall, was it Turkey Derby? With the modifieds, they went single file for quite a while. I mean, kind of like a freight train. Yes, that in particular may not be exciting, but you have a long race and you got to get through it.
I think it is. I mean, I think it is. I think following the leader and learning how to play the gap. I mean, Jimmy Johnson went from trying to win the race to, for the seventh time, getting his DNF in the Speed Weeks. I also think if I work for Chevrolet, I'm really happy. I think they mind the gap that's been lacking there for the last couple of years. I think they're fast, minus Kyle Larson not knowing how to put his car where it doesn't belong. Otherwise, I thought, it was a pretty good race.
But here's the bit of irony that I saw from the race on Sunday. Obviously, Toyotas were the manufacturer to beat last year just about. Now with the new Chevy Camaro, as Sam mentioned, it seems like Chevy has kind of pulled back a little bit on that advantage that Toyota had. But when the white flag came out, it was 3 Penske Fords in the top 3, and 2 of them were able to stay in the top 2, with Keselowski and Logano finishing first and second. So things seem to be pretty even heading into the start of this year.
I think Kurt Busch finished third.
Eric,
so,
where was the first Ford in the lineup for qualifying at the end of that?
That I'm not particularly sure of. I know
But-
that right now it's Bowman and Hamlin, but I could check.
But the first Ford, I'm sorry, the Fords were struggling a bit for speed. They were saying, yet you have one win the Clash. It just again, and you talk about going from the back to the front. That to me just proves my point that qualifying doesn't matter, especially single car qualifying at a plate track. It doesn't matter. Track position doesn't matter except for the last lap.
Well, it's going to matter. Well, track position seems like it may matter if they're going to ride around for the last 20 laps or whatever they end up doing. Sam, you got an answer for us?
Kevin Harvick qualified 8th, and then it was Ricky Stenhouse, and then a boat ton of Fords. I mean, they qualified everywhere between 8th and 20th.
Okay.
Sam is Johnny on the spot. Now, one other item that we were looking at was the new pit rules that was implemented. Now, one less man going over the wall to service the car. Richard Childress Racing put out a video showing that 3 different crew members had their hands on the jack at one particular point in a single pit stop. And the stops were significantly slower. I think the fastest time in a pit stop last year was an 11.8, while the fastest time of record this year was right around 16 seconds. So a significant drop in time, or an increase in time, I should say, with the new rules. And it seems like teams are going to be studying each other a little bit more. And here's the other big thing that we have to think about. Even though there's only 40 cars entered in the Daytona 500, nobody will be going home or failing to qualify for the race. It's the first year that it's an impound race. They used to have 2 practice sessions on Wednesday before the duels. That's not the case anymore. So I have to wonder, Sam and Josh, to your points with the Fords, maybe they came ready to race more than they did to actually qualify, knowing that they're not going to have much time to work on their race setup, and Thursday is going to be the only shot they get.
I hadn't thought of that, but I like that. I like that way of thinking.
I even think Denny Hamlin, when he got out of the car, I think Denny Hamlin's qualifying 2nd, I believe. Let me double check. That's right. Denny Hamlin's qualifying 2nd. They interviewed him when he got out of the car, and he goes, "This is a race setup." He was shocked that Toyota Camry was fast. I mean, I still think that I think Chevy has the advantage, just not with Kyle Larson behind you. Besides that, I think they have a lot of power this year. A lot of power. Not being biased or anything with the poster behind me.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how things continue to unfold. We'll have full coverage of the duels leading into the Daytona 500 as we kick off our live show at River Rock in Brick, New Jersey. If you want to come down to that, we will be available. All the fun's going to begin at 12 p.m. Race scheduled to go green at 3, and we will be giving you RPM podcast coverage all the way up to the drop of the green flag. For more information, you can visit the RPM podcast Facebook page or Instagram page, as we have our schedule with all the drink specials, or our website as well, Josh, at therpmpodcast.com. There was another race that went off this weekend down in Daytona, and it was for the ARCA Racing Series, something that has transformed into a lot of excitement and energy. And this weekend, it was the fact that it took almost 50 minutes to complete the final lap. That was after they had a big crash on the initial white flag, a long, lengthy cleanup, then another big crash which took out the top 4. Another long, lengthy cleanup. And at the end, it was Michael Self who ended up standing victorious at the end. It was his 2nd ARCA win in a row. He won the finale at Kansas last year. But, gentlemen, this is something that comes up a lot on the Cup side and in the top 3 series. Scott, you can weigh in on this as well. The overtime rule, particularly that at super speedways. ARCA's rule is if there is a caution on the final lap, they re-rack, and they don't run a 2-lap shootout. It's a single 1-lap shootout, where on the Cup side, their green-white checker policy is typically if the caution comes out on the final lap, the race is over. Is there a common line that we could find between the two of them? Is there a right way or a wrong way to do it? Should there be an exception for the plate tracks? This seems like it's going to be an issue. It's already been an issue in one race during Speed Weeks. We got 4 more to go. I bet it's going to be a problem at least Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe even in the 500. Is this something that concerns you guys? Does ARCA have it right with their rule, or should they?
I like the way ARCA does it. It's kind of more old school. Let's race. Let's get a winner in this thing. And does it tear up cars every once in a while? Yeah, that's the downside of it. Does the fans get to see a finish on their green flag? Yeah, that's the upside of it. So yeah, I like it. I like the way ARCA does it. I love the ARCA series.
I think.
See, I agree with.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Josh.
I was going to say I watch a couple ARCA races every year. Now they don't get televised as much, obviously, but Daytona is always televised for ARCA. I think it's a fun, entertaining show.
I think every race this year at ARCA is televised except one, like a little short track out west or something. But other than that, I think every race is televised. So that's great for ARCA. I'm looking forward to watching the races this year.
Although on a quick tangent from that, it looks like ARCA will not be going to Millville this year in New Jersey for New Jersey Motorsports Park. They're going back to Charlotte.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, I'd trade Charlotte for Millville road course anytime. ARCA cars in Charlotte, I think that's going to be awesome.
I see where you're coming from, but I just I mean I like that it's not. I mean, Millville's still about 2 hours away from me, but being able to go and watch it versus I'm not going to be able to make plans to go to Charlotte for an ARCA race.
Have you ever been to Millville to watch the ARCA race?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. How many times?
Just the once.
Okay, so you missed a few?
Yes, I have.
All right.
But I'm just saying, I like that it's available. I think I have an excuse for last year.
Yeah.
But
that's questionable. You could have made it if you really tried.
They were not going to let me out of the hospital. I'll say that. But I mean, I had a good time when I went, because you also get the very easy pit access. If you got like a regular ticket at say Charlotte for the grandstands, that's where you're going to watch it from. Millville, you get to wander around. You got to go in the pits. You just walk right up to drivers if you wanted. Additionally, they had a support division of dirt modifieds. That
that's cool. That was a lot of fun, that race.
So I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Well, Josh, now that they're not at Millville and you're seeing your 2 hours from Millville, we're only about 2.5 hours for Pocono. So instead of not going to Millville, you can go to the ARCA race at Pocono. That'd be a good day for you to go to.
That's not a bad idea. Do they? I'm curious. Do we know if they have any support divisions going out or anything like that with them? Just I mean,
yeah, I think they're tied in with the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. It's a double header.
Yeah, no, I like that. You get more bang for your buck, basically, is what I'm looking for.
I mean, I don't mind them being at Charlotte, considering I'm only 10 minutes from the Speedway. So, I mean,
are you going to even be in school at that time, Sam?
I don't know. We'll make it happen. Let me check.
Anyway.
Now, one ARCA driver that caught the attention of many, including our very own Josh, was Natalie Decker, who ended up winning the pole in what was a group qualifying effort that ARCA put together. And the performance in the race was rather exciting. She at one point she dodged a wreck that could have been horrific.
One point, dude, she dodged like 5, and I think Scott, being a driver as well, I think he can test. There is skill involved, but sometimes there is some luck involved. And,
without a doubt.
There was one or two that I think, and I mean, no discredit to her at all, but there was luck that the car spun and just went high as she squeezed through there. She put on a good show, very, very respectable performance. And Eric, I'm sorry, but I think she's cute too. So.
But it also might help her in that situation. I'm sure they got her teamed up with a real good spotter, and on a track like that and in situations like that, I mean, the driver can be just as important. I mean, the spotter can be just as important as the driver. So, you might want to look into who her spotter was for that race, and that they could have really coached her through a lot of wrecks in that.
Well, Eric Graham actually, his beef with the plate tracks has been that it's more of a display of your spotter than the driver a lot of times. Because, Scott, you've driven on Daytona. You can pretty much go flat out.
You can, but I tell you what, if you crank that wheel too hard, you're going for a ride. You really got to be smooth. So I still think it has a lot to do with the driver.
Right.
I don't think we didn't even say she got the pole. She won the pole for the race.
Yes, she did
that. He said that. I mean, that's probably really no big deal. That's all car. They even say you just hold to the floor and steer it smoothly, and it's really the team in the car that got the pole. But I'm not taking any away from her. The girl did great. Yeah, she was on the pole, got a top 5. She came home in one piece. That's great for Natalie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Leilani Munter, I think she finished. She had a top 10 at the end of the day as well. So a great performance by the women. Not that it should really matter. I mean, it's just another talking point. But really good to see that happen. I mean, the race was kind of a bit of a mess. I think we can agree.
Well, at least the ending of it was. I mean, there were a lot of guys who was up there. First of all, Sheldon Creed was involved in the last wreck that brought out their last red flag for the cleanup. It was Creed, New York driver Sean Core, Chase Purdy, up and comer, and I forget who the fourth car was in the mix. Travis Braden. They were the 4 that ended up wrecking while racing for the lead, which gave Michael Self the top spot. But Sheldon Creed got sideways and on the apron of the track, skimming through the grass, and never spun out, and only lost 2 spots in the process. That was one of the most unbelievable saves I've ever seen at Daytona. Probably the only one that comes to mind was Kyle Busch's in the Clash a few years ago.
Okay.
And if you're looking for a driver to watch, and I'm basing it off of that save alone plus his performance as stadium super truck driver, dirt car driver, and he has done everything but win an ARCA race just yet, and it's coming in his limited schedule this year, I promise. Sheldon Creed is going to be a name to watch in motorsports coming up. Just keep that in mind. And that's my big observation from the ARCA race this past weekend. Also, congratulations to Michael Self, because he too is running a part-time schedule in ARCA, and
What was Michael Self racing for?
I believe it was MDM Motorsports.
Okay.
I believe that was the name of it.
They're good. Good for him.
Actually, no. That's who he. Yes, he typically drives for MDM. It was a Venerini prepared car he was driving this week because Big Bill gave the kiss on the lips. That's what they do. Big Bill comes in and gives his driver the kiss on the lips when they win.
You know, I have a classmate of mine who listens to the show, Chris Hicks, and he made a great point in class the other day. He said, Sam, he goes, there was more freaking speedy dry on that track than when Montoya hit the jet dryer a few years ago.
I think that was true.
That's what I took away from ARCA.
I made a post on our page with a photo of that, and then I actually saw on Twitter, I want to give the proper credit, but I don't remember who it was, shared basically the same photo and said, just let them race like this. It will literally make no difference.
It was Matt Weaver. Okay. Matt Weaver, the racing rider. Yeah, that's what I said. It was great.
I thought that was great. Now, I want to say, I think the Hard Luck Award would have to go to Ronnie Osmer. It looked like the engine just blew, but later on his Facebook page, he shared what looked like a piece of roll cage tubing. He must have run it over. It took out the shock, went through, I guess, punched a hole in the engine and ended up somehow in the trunk of the car. So, I mean...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm glad he wasn't injured, but that was a rough, day for him. I know he started in the rear of the pack, but, again, it's Daytona. And actually, something my dad said, it looked like the ARCA cars need horns because there were guys that were just kind of coming down. I don't know if it was a spotter issue or they just didn't... I don't know. But I'm wondering if a horn would have, said, "Hey, I'm here. Don't come across."
I thought your bumper was your horn. No.
Unfortunately, at that speed, I don't think you don't have enough time.
One of the things that I've picked up from the ARCA stuff, and I saw a lot of people on social media getting on this as well. And what I don't think many realize is ARCA really is a good inlet for people trying to find their way up to the sport. Now, you automatically think drivers. You think, young drivers who have no experience, all racing at 185 miles an hour. It's also the same for spotters, crew chiefs. Now, there are some really, really well-established crew chiefs like Kevin Reed, who was on the box for Michael Self this past weekend. He's won at Daytona before. There's a couple former Cup Series crew chiefs who are now teaming up with them. Frank Kimmel is a crew chief now out of the Venturini stable. So you get the point. There's also a lot of young and up-and-coming spotters. I think even track officials and cleanup crews are a little bit more up-and-coming trying to get involved. That was evident on Saturday. And even if I was to liken it to the television side, I feel like that they may not use the same production crew that they do for the Cup stuff because you kind of notice some things. And I'm not talking about the play-by-play and the pit reporting. I'm talking about just more production-wise. So that's
I was going to say that they seem to focus on the car that was over here doing nothing when they were going 3 or 4 wide. And come on, producer, director, somebody switch cameras, please.
I'll say for Eric Brennan, that's Fox for you.
Yeah.
Well, I would listen. Everybody's got to start somewhere, so you got to be a little bit lenient. So when it comes to the racing, the production, all that stuff, when it comes to ARCA, have a little bit of patience and cut up some slack because that's.
I mean, it's definitely like the AAA baseball compared to major leagues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I love it. I totally love ARCA. I mean, I told you guys at the Motorsports show that the dream of mine is to race Pocono in the ARCA series. I've always been a fan of ARCA. I have friends involved in ARCA. As a matter of fact, Nancy actually left my race in Bronson. She didn't come to watch me race in Bronson on Sunday because she was a guest of a K&N East team over at New Smyrna, so she had to get over there to go to that race. And while she was there, she met a couple ARCA owners, and she actually took a little meeting with one. And to tell you how expensive the sport got, she said, "Hey, here's my chance. I'm going to sit with this guy, and we're going to talk to him for a little bit. I'm just going to ask him how much would it be to do an ARCA race." My husband's been racing for years. He's got a pretty good resume for racing. He's looking to do something like that. And she sat and talked with the guy, and they kind of laid it all out to her. And you guys are going to be shocked by this, but to do an ARCA race, it's $45,000.
I'm not surprised. I'm honestly not surprised.
And he's he was telling us that's a fair price. He was even saying a team like Venturini gets upwards of 60,000 a race. So the price is out of control to even do an ARCA race.
Well, unfortunately, and I've said it before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but to me, I think, yes, there is some talent that's going to come up through ARCA, especially if you have a more well-established team and you can kind of pick the drivers. But a lot of other guys, it is pay to play. They can put up the money, and then they can do it, and then they can say that they're an ARCA driver. And they think that by putting that on their resume that they're going to get picked up by NASCAR or something. But, I mean, Scott, it seems like you want to do it more just as a bucket list kind of item.
Well, it's a bucket list thing, but I think, I really feel that, I am 44 years old now, but I think I could compete at that level. I've been to the ARCA races. I've seen some of the drivers get in the cars. I've checked their backgrounds, and I think I could, do a top 10, top 15 type deal in an ARCA race, no problem, but those prices, unfortunately, are going to keep me from ever showing that. But it's cool. It's cool to talk to people. What's that?
I said you got to tow a lot more cars.
yeah, I got to tow and junk a lot more cars. It is funny because the guy she was talking to, he does own a very large towing business, and that's how they got the conversation started. She said, we own a small towing business. He owned a large towing business, and they were just comparing towing stuff. And then she's like, while we're sitting here talking, he would love to do an ARCA race. What kind of money are we talking about to get him in one of your cars? And that's when they started talking numbers on that too. It just goes to show that even though if you're a short track racer, if you know the right people and talk to the right people, there's chances of advancement. I mean, Dominic Gasol proved it. I mean, he finished third at Talladega one year. He's from Wall Stadium. It's just cool that there's other series out there that you can go compete in if you can get the funding to do it.
Now, Scott, I think there was a series. It may still be around. It was televised. There was like a Lucas Oil thing once in a while. I think it was called the Gas Series or something like that, like GASS.
I saw that. It was a Great American Street Stocks, right?
Yeah, wasn't it for like older guys? I wouldn't, not retirement age, but in their 50s or things like that. It was stock cars, like late models, but it was more specifically geared towards guys.
Like 40 and over.
Well, I was going to say 50 and over, I think. You had to be fully.
Yeah, no, I never heard of that. That's pretty cool. In 6 years, I'd probably look into something like that. I mean, the only racing series that I ever noticed having 40 and over is the legend cars, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think because it used to be about finding the guys that had the best resume of these big races and all that, and they tended to be. I don't want to say old, but older, and now we're bringing all these younger. Whoops, my that's sorry. There's you get a lot more kids. I mean, there was one guy for the ARCA race, I believe. He was not qualified to run at Daytona because of his age, but he's going to be in the car for like all the other races. And it's just, we were having that conversation a few weeks ago about,
Wasn't that Brandon Grosso, the New Jersey kid, the kid from New Jersey?
I don't remember, unfortunately.
I think was that Ken Schrader's car? Was it Ken Schrader's car? Because I think that was Brandon Grosso. He, his family used to own New Egypt Speedway, and he's doing very well.
Mm-hmm. It might have been.
And because of the way the ARCA rules work, Grosso was able to partake in either qualifying or practice, and he gets 25 points just for simply entering the event.
Oh, that's great.
The age limits won't affect him going forward throughout the rest of the year. And if you remember, last year's ARCA Rookie of the Year, Riley Herbst, who drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, had a similar problem. Couldn't run Daytona due to the age requirements, had to miss that one race, came back to win Rookie of the Year in the season finale, so it can be done. And no bias here, but of course, with Grosso's New Jersey connections, I'd say we're kind of pulling for him on that one. So one more bit of note that I want to touch on, Sam, although I saw you had your hand up. You were about to say something?
I was like, yeah, screw the man. Go Grosso.
One more financial thing.
What Josh saying, with the 40 and over thing, I'm in pretty good shape at 44. I love racing against the young kids. I love racing against even the kids in the factory stocks. We got Waylon Spears, he's a young kid. We got Teresa Collins, she's a young girl. I love racing with them. I even like sitting and talking to them. The crazy little nickname they gave me, the professor, that came from, I'm the one that teaches the rookie classes at the beginning of the year. And I enjoy working with the younger kids. So sometimes it's good that there's an older veteran guy like me and Joe Maggio involved in the sport, Shannon Maggio. we can work with the kids and help them, and then when you go out and compete with them, I like beating them too, and I think I even said in Victory Lane one time, this one's for the old guys, here's one for the old guys,
How did Whitey feel about that?
I tell you what, when I was racing real hard, traveling all over the country, I said, I'm going to do this as hard as I can until I'm 30, and then I'm going to stop racing and get serious about life. Well, 30 came, I was still winning, so I'm like, maybe 35, maybe 40, now I'm 44 and I'm still racing. I said, Nancy, I'm going to do it a couple more years, and tell you the truth, if she wasn't racing, I was getting ready to stop. But now she's racing and enjoy it, so we might as well keep going. She's like, who are you kidding? You're going to be the next Whitey Miller over here. Just keep racing. I love Whitey. Whitey's a great guy, man. Yeah. I hope I can do what he's doing at his age, man. That's awesome.
Especially after what he went through.
He had an illness too. Yeah, he fought back from a life-threatening illness, and at his age, and he's still racing. And I tell you what, he doesn't cherry pick races there. He's there every week. It can be 95 degrees out. The man's there ready in his fire suit, ready to get in the car and go racing.
He has it's a weird. It's hard to describe to people that aren't involved in racing the passion. And as I was saying earlier, there's really nothing like being in a car or being in a race like that. It's such a unique adrenaline rush that it's hard for. It really is like an addiction. It's hard for people to kick. Oh, Sam, I wanted to say in the ARCA race there was a nice little shout out to the WKA. You, of course, I don't know. Were you watching it on mute like normal, or?
No, I didn't have FS1 then, but okay. I did tell my WK bosses, and they were surprised. So, hey, if you want to race, Scott was talking about. Hi, Nancy. Scott was talking about entering racing and stuff. The WK is a great way to go. Speaking of WK, Eric Brennan, you had something to say about the ARCA race.
Yeah, well, I think that's where the tie-in comes in. Natalie Decker, the pollster we were talking about, did compete in the WK event at Daytona a few years ago. And Kevin Lee, who is also an IndyCar Series announcer for NBCSN, he was the one who brought up the correlation with how just a few years ago she was on the infield road course in 3 and 4 to now competing and leading the field of the green on the high banks. And it was cool to hear that.
I have a cool off-tangent story. So my boss, Marie, has been the general manager for the WK for over 20 years. And she told me that she walked up, and this is back in the day, and there was AJ Allmendinger, Jamie McMurray, and Dan Weldon, to show you how old the story is. They were sitting at Daytona, and they were well-respected in their racing careers. They were coming back to race the WK Kart Week in Daytona. And I believe AJ Allmendinger looked at Dan Weldon and said, don't bet your money you're going to come out and beat these kids because these kids are fast. And I thought it was a cool story. Here are these 3 guys, top of their game and what they do in their respective fields, and coming back and getting their asses kicked by a bunch of young kids. So kind of the opposite of Scott's situation. But, it just shows you racing is so broad and you have so many options.
I agree.
Sam, just for letting you know that I know we just got to know each other in these last 3 shows. I have 6 wins in the WKA, dating back to like 88, 89. So I have been a part of WKA. We used to race at Great Meadows Karting in North Jersey over by the Delaware Water Gap. And they were great to race for. It was a great little sanction and body, and I really enjoyed racing for them. Unfortunately, I started a little late at 14, 15 racing karts. And then as soon as I turned 18, I went to the big car. So I didn't race cars for about 3 years. But I do have 5 or 6 wins with WKA, and it was a lot of fun racing with them.
Yeah, they're good guys to work for. Proud to represent them.
All right, now, go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead, Josh. No, I was just going to, just in the sake of time, I was going to say, we might as well just take a quick break because I know Scott's got a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about after his trip down in Florida. Also, Wall Stadium Speedway just recently today, their 2018 schedule. We wrapped up indoor season. There's so much more to talk about on a local level. So I figure when we come back to the other side of the RPM podcast, we're going to hear all about Scott's trip, not only down to Bronson Speedway, but also his trip back home from Bronson Speedway and a whole bunch more. You're listening to the RPM podcast with Scott Riggleman, Sam Ballard Jr., and Josh Matthews. I'm Eric Brennan. We will be right back with segment 2 of the RPM podcast.
I have to go pee. Give me 1 second.
Hey everyone, this is Eric Brennan from the RPM Podcast. If you're looking for a dependable full auto repair and preventative maintenance center, then you need to check out O'Shea's Auto Repair in Wall, New Jersey. The family man himself, Tim O'Shea, has been providing the highest quality of automotive repair since 2000 on both domestic and imported cars, trucks, and SUVs. From race cars to street cars, O'Shea's Auto Repair covers it all. For more information, visit their website at o'sheasautorepair.com. O'Shea's Auto Repair, supporter of the RPM Podcast and proud sponsor of the O'Shea Auto Repair Factory stops at Wall Stadium Speedway.
Welcome back to the RPM Podcast. I'm Eric Brennan with Sam Ballard Jr., Josh Matthews, and, of course, Scott Riggleman. Normally at this point in the show, we talk about some of the things that are going on in the open wheel and sports car world. Obviously, there was a big IndyCar test out of Phoenix. Our very own friend, the mayor of Shimtown, was out there. He also posed a question, which we'll tackle in the latter weeks, especially once the Olympics have wrapped up, asking if the Olympics was if motorsports was in fact associated with the Olympics, of what form would it take in, which is an interesting discussion. But being that we have so much to talk about what's going on down in Florida, particularly on the local level, we deemed it appropriate to just kind of turn the floor over to Scott, who just came back from down there, to kind of give us a lot of insight as to what had gone on. As we talked earlier in the show, of course, things did not unfold the way which we had all hoped for in Scott's voyage down to Bronson Speedway, which he previewed for us in the last edition of the RPM Podcast. Scott, as you took the trip down south, got settled, you received some very sad news, but you elected to stay down south to continue on with the racing weekend. And with that, I just kind of want to turn it over to you to let us know how things went down and how you made the decision to stay down south. Your brother Tim is still down there working with the modified team. I mean, you guys are a racing family all the way through the core, and that came from your dad. That came from Sam. And I think that you guys have been representing him well, despite the unfortunate set of circumstances. And all I got to say is we love you and we're here for you. And we just want to hear how you saw it from your perspective this past week.
The last show I told you I was going down to Bronson, and I jokingly said, I said, hey guys, I'm going to bring you back a trophy and a bunch of stories. Well, to show you I'm a man of my word, here's a trophy I came home with, winning on Sunday. And
still a trophy.
And I have a bunch of stories. So I'm just going to start right from the beginning. We left Thursday morning. 7:30, we pulled out of my driveway, stopped and got gas by the Great Adventure exit on 195. Got out of there about 8 o'clock, and we just headed down. It was 1,000 miles. It was like 995 miles when we pulled out of my driveway. The trip down was awesome. I mean, we went through Baltimore, no problem. Went through Washington, Richmond. Never even hit the brakes. Weather was great, clear blue skies, sun shining. Drove straight down. We had a great trip down there. No problems whatsoever. Stayed at a hotel maybe about an hour from the track. Woke up first thing Friday morning, 7 a.m., 8 o'clock. We had to be at the track. The practice started at 10. We wanted to be at the track around 9:30 so we can get unloaded, get the car ready for practice at 10, which we did. Got to the track, no problem. There was already a bunch of modified tour teams there for their race, which is an awesome race. But things, and not for me, things started out great for me. Things started bad for Ryan Preece. I mean, we had a real scary moment there. On Friday morning, I was checking my tire pressures because the modified cars were the first cars to hit the track. And man, we heard a loud thud. I mean, it was loud. And
you heard it from the pit area, Scott?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And but nothing. I kind of didn't really pay attention. I was still doing my own thing, and then the track was quiet for a while, and I was wondering why the other cars weren't pulling off the track that were practicing with them, and I was wondering why they weren't lining us up. The division I was racing was pure stock, so we were next to practice, and they weren't lining us up. So I'm like, I better take a walk up there. And Ryan Preece's car was over the fence, over the guardrail of the track and into the catch fence. And I was like, wow, well, something happened bad. And then I got happy because I seen Ryan walking by in street clothes out onto the track to help the track crew pick his car up. It appeared that his throttle stuck. Someone said something was hooked up not right, or the return springs got tangled up in each other, and the throttle stuck on him. And everybody knows in a modified that could be a very bad thing. A lot of people have passed in the years over stuck throttles. Lucky they use a jersey barrier around the Bronson Speedway, not like a traditional guardrail that's like tipped back towards you. It's actually tipped the other way and kind of acted like a little bit of a ramp. And people were saying, "Oh, that's dangerous. It's a ramp. It's launched this car like a rocket and send them, out into the field behind the track. I said, no, man, if that fence was tipped the other way, he would have stuck in there like a lawn dart and it would have stopped sudden. And it could have been curtains for Ryan,
There's a 2-second video out there that a fan was shooting from the grandstands. It's literally a 2-second clip, and all you see is the car go into the wall and up in the air. And Scott, that was the first. I didn't know until I saw the close-up picture that it was like a Jersey barrier, the curvature of the wall. And you're right. If it was a straight concrete wall like any other track, not like wall, but like Riverhead Raceway or whatever, I think the results would have been much different than what we saw. I mean, Priest dodged a bullet there, and hats off to Bronson Speedway. I know you were praising for a while about how well that woman runs that track, and that may be something that tracks may want to look at. I mean, you don't want to build launching ramps for cars, but that's a pretty inexpensive way to dissipate energy when a car goes in like that.
But you did say, I mean, this particular incident, it might have saved Ryan's life, but last year when I was there racing in the heat race, there was a Camaro right behind me. He was right on my bumper. So I was keeping an eye on my mirror, and we came at it too. And I looked up in the mirror. He actually clipped the Jersey barrier with his right rear tire, and it flipped him over. So it wasn't good either. So it all depends on how you hit. In this particular incident, it really helped Ryan. I mean, they looked at Ryan's car in the pits. I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook. I was like one of the first cars there, so I was parked up close in the pit. So when he came in on the bucket loader, I just snapped a picture of the car with my cell phone and put it on Facebook. And then, man, that picture went viral. It was all over the place. It got shared over 100 times. It was all over. They did check Ryan's backup car with the throttle linkage, and they noticed it was set up the same way. So they fixed that before they headed over to New Smyrna on that car, because a wreck like that at New Smyrna would have been a lot worse than a wreck like that at Bronson. So I know Ryan totaled a beautiful modified. I mean, the car was destroyed.
I know the Nerf bars looked obviously destroyed and bent up. And from that picture you shared, it looked that at least the front clip was bent. It kind of had a banana shape to it, and I don't know if that was an illusion because of the way the Nerf bars got bent. I mean, the rims were waffled and all that, but was it actually the chassis bent like that?
Oh yeah, it was bent. I mean, a team like Ryan and they got a full crew down there, a bunch of great guys. They got unlimited parts for them to just say we're loading it up and leaving, and they haven't touched the car. New Smyrna. So it just shows you that it's beyond repair. If it's just bolt-on stuff, you bet those guys would be bolting the stuff on and getting ready for as a backup car for New Smyrna. It was a shame too, because that Ryan wrecked the car, and then now he's only down to one, so he didn't opted to unload his car and race out of Bronson. He saved it for New Smyrna. Yeah. And I mean, it was a great modified race. Then the following day, I know I'm getting a little ahead of my story, but it would have been great to have Ryan there in that race. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we lost one of the top modified drivers due to a wreck, and he was a little missed on Saturday for the big race.
Well, but I'm still with that Elliott Sadler on that.
Did you guys see that Instagram post? That fake Instagram post was pretty funny. I can't say it on here, but if you want to check it out, it was pretty funny. It's floating all over the place.
There was it was a fake post from the Elliott Sadler page saying that Elliott was glad that Priest wrecked F that guy, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I received some bad news that Friday night, and I was pretty upset Saturday morning. And when I woke up, it brought a smile on my face reading that. It made me laugh for a few minutes during my hard times, and it was funny. It's but
I appreciate it. I shared it. So.
Yeah, I love Ryan Priest. He's a true racer. He's a great kid. He looks like a little like Stephen Reed, doesn't he, Eric Brennan? Whenever I see Ryan Priest, if I see him out of the corner of my eye, he looks like Stephen Reed. The weird part about that day was he actually, right before practice started, I checked my phone, and he had sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I accepted it, and then he went out and destroyed his car. So I don't know if that was his bad luck or whatever. But, it was just a weird set of circumstances. But Ryan's a great guy, and I really hope he pulls off a win at New Smyrna to make up for his bad week. I think he even had a little bit of problems last night in the modified at New Smyrna.
I believe they had a mechanical problem.
Speed weeks turned around, and not to put Ryan down or anything, but it just shows sometimes when you try to do too much in racing, some of your performances might suffer. I don't know if it's something he's focusing more on the Xfinity, and he's not 100% focused on the modified, which I could be wrong about. But for him to start off the season bad like this is not like him. I'm a Ryan Priest fan. I pull for him. I hope he makes it to the upper levels. He's all in, and I respect that, and I really hope his speed week gets better for him.
I just wanted to apologize for trying to run my ankles over at Turkey Derby. That's
Josh hold a grudge.
I will hold a grudge until I die. But anyway, that's neither.
Sam Ballard might never get the text he's waiting for, and Josh might never get that apology from Ryan Preece.
He'll probably hear back first.
Yeah, he might.
All right, so Scott, you said you're running the Pure Stock division down there, Bronson.
Yeah, they had a Pure Stock division down there. Similar, I told you the last episode that similar to
some of the
factory stocks at Wall. Yeah, I went down there last year, totally Wall Stadium factory stock legal, and I was about 0.4 of a second off of those guys.
Wow.
This year I went down there with some modifications. I put the headers on the car, 3-inch exhaust. I locked the rear. And I went with more gear. We had more gear, and I was able to take 100 pounds off a weight because I could be 3,200 down there at Wall. We're 3,300. So I did everything I could do to go down there to be more like a Pure Stock and less like a Wall factory stock. Now, of course, now that the car's not quite home yet, but we'll get to that later.
Yes.
When the car comes home, now I got to switch it back over to Wall factory stock. But I did. I was the only car that showed up for Friday practice because the local guys really don't need it. They're not going to take off what they from work and go Friday. So I was the only Pure Stock there Friday. And when I came in, I was happy with my times because I had written down in a notebook what I did last year. Last year, I was doing 16.5, 16.4s. I did a 16.0, and that's what they were doing. The fast guys were doing that last year. So I'm like, wow, we're right here, man. We got something for them this year. Come Saturday when everybody showed up, the regular car showed up, they were doing 15.8. So I was still I got 4/10 faster, but unfortunately they picked up 2/10. So I was still 2/10 off, but I was a lot closer than I was the previous year.
Now, when you said you put more gear in it, I'm assuming you changed the rear gear. Did you go up or down in the teeth when you're saying more gear?
Last year at Wall Stadium, I moved from a 390 to a 410. When I went down there last year, I had 390s, and I just went with the 410 that I'm racing at Wall. That's what I'm saying. I went with more gear than last year. Last year, I chose to race the 390s. This year, I went to the 410. So that's what I had at Bronson.
What size, what distance track is that at Bronson?
Wall's a 3rd mile high bank. Bronson's is a 3/8 mile high bank, and I was running the same exact RPMs that I did at Wall down there. But the reason why is because we were on an American Eraser tire down at Bronson, and the tires are bigger.
Right.
So that made up for the length of the track being bigger. You think I would run more RPMs than the same gear, but because the tires were bigger, I ran exactly the same RPM that I do at Wall. Okay. So I was lucky there,
I like that. How many cars did you have? You raced 3. Was it 3 races or 2 races?
No, I didn't race 3 races. It was Friday. I raced 3 days, but it was practice all day Friday, race Saturday, race Sunday. They don't get many cars down there. It's the South. I mean, if they get 10 cars, they're happy down there.
Okay.
The Tours had 13. I think the biggest division there, which is a real cool division, I liked watching. It was a Super Truck Series, a Southeast Super Truck Series or something they were called. They had about 15 there. The South really doesn't get many cars, even though right now at New Smyrna I think they have 31 modifieds on premises, and I think 29 took times tonight. So, and they were saying that's the most modified tour cars they've ever had since like 1979. So that shows a lot, But getting back to Bronson, what sped the show up, because there wasn't many cars down there in any of the divisions, they skipped heat races. They had time trials for the modified, so they had a lineup, and then all the divisions went with pill draw and start the feature the way you drew your pill. So that was pretty cool. It sped the show up and made the show go faster. But getting back to Friday, we practiced all day. The car was good. My uncle Danny, who is my we call him the car chief. George Reynolds is my crew chief. Danny's the car chief. Does a lot of the mechanical work. He goes with me every year, and he does the mechanics race, which Eric Brennan is going to do this year at Wall Stadium. We just got to find him a ride. If anybody out there wants Eric Brennan to drive the car,
it's not a campaign.
Yeah, Eric Brennan has. He's a major player in iRacing, and he has a lot of experience. He wants to pass that over to the real race cars.
I haven't played iRacing in months.
I mean, if you look behind him, there's a steering wheel back there, so the man's thinking racing 24/7. So if you have a factory stock and you need a driver for that mechanics race, I think it's September 8th, the first Saturday in September. Eric Brennan's your man.
Eric Brennan is
love you,
doing better
Scott.
than Scott Speed in iRacing right now.
Yeah, he hasn't got thrown out yet, so at least he had
The wheel is just for when the beer money runs out.
But yeah, getting back to Friday at Bronson, I let my Uncle Danny take the car out because it is an all-day test session. The cars go. I was the only pure stock there for the practice, so he had the track to himself. So he suited up, took the car out, and he really enjoyed it. He did it last year also. Part of the reason he goes to Florida, I let him take the car out in practice. Another fun thing I did at practice was I wanted to see the car out on the track. With going faster than what my uncle has comfort doing. So I chose Eric Goodale, modified tour driver. I went and talked to Eric. My brother spots for Eric. Our families are close. I went and talked to Eric. I said, Eric, did you ever drive a street stock? He's like, no, you know what? I started writing the modifieds. They're blessed with a great business and they're modified people. They can afford modifieds. Eric just jumped right into a modified and raced. I said, would you ever want to take one out? He's like, he didn't really say that. I said, well, the reason I asked, I want you to take my car out. I want to see it out on the track. I want to, watch what it does going into the corner, stuff like that. See if it's got rollover. I want to look at the right front. I want to see if there's any bounce in the shocks, stuff like that. I said, can you go ahead and take it out for me and try to give it a real hard run? I'm going to get tire temp, stuff like that. Because with me being in the car down there with a very skeleton crew, by the time I jump out of the car and check the tire temps, they've cooled off, a little bit by then. So I'm not getting accurate reading. Eric's like, yeah, you know what? I would like to, I said, all right, cool. He's like, listen, I'm down here. Eric Goodale is a Troyer guy. He races Troyer cars. This year they opted to build a Spafco chassis, just go play with it and test with it a little bit. They showed up at Bronson with a brand new Spafco modified. Every nut and bolt on it was brand new, motor, everything, beautiful car. He's like, listen, we're here testing this new chassis. I need to concentrate on it for, a couple more practice. Can I come take your car out a little bit later? And I said, yeah, sure. Whenever you want to come over, just walk over and do it. So it wasn't long after that, but maybe about 45 minutes, he came walking over with his helmet and stuff. And he's like, I'm ready. I'm like, all right, cool. We got the car ready for you. Jump in it. And he gets in the car and he's like, you're going to have to show me how to go through the gears. I'm like, all right, well, it's in park right now, and you got to pull it back and put it in reverse. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, this car's an automatic transmission. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, it's an automatic transmission. And then he's like, all right, well, once I'm in driving, I go stop. What do I do if there's no clutch? I said, you just put your foot on the brake. It's got a torque converter. It's like a regular street car. He's like, no way. So anyway, we showed him how to go through the gears and where the gears were and everything. And he went out on the track and he did really well. I was doing 16.0, 16.1s. He did like a 4 and a 5, and it's pretty good for the first time ever being in a car like that. And I got to see a few things that I didn't like in the car. I noticed the nose of the car was bouncing up after it's set going into the corner. And I knew that was my shocks and the type of shock I run. And unfortunately, I didn't have any other shocks with me, so I just went with that. But he came in and he had the biggest smile on his face. He's like, that was awesome. That was so much fun. And I just looked at him. I said, hey, Eric, now it proves you don't have to spend millions of dollars on modifieds to have fun in a race car. You can buy one of these for about $5,000 and then just go have a blast. And he started laughing. He got out. He was sweating. He's like, I don't know how. He's like, now I know how you lost all that weight. He's like, there's no way in there, because down there I ran a full windshield, and you got to run a full windshield down there. And I put the rear windows in. We're allowed a back window and the side window, so I put the windows in, and it was a little hot in there. He's used to the modify with the window, all wind coming through the car. He had a blast, And then the next day he posted on something on Facebook about his modified not being as fast as I want, and I put it on there saying that's because it doesn't have an automatic transmission. He put laugh out loud. He's like, yeah, maybe we'll put an automatic transmission in the modified. So that joke we had going on the weekend. But we ended the practice day, and it was over at 3:00. They were having a free country concert there. Some kid was there with a country band, and they were having a free barbecue, and it was starting at 5:00. We needed something from Napa, so there was a Napa store down the street. So we had a couple hours to kill before the country band. They were setting up their equipment, and we wanted to watch the country band and hang out for a little while. So we leave the track to go to Napa and buy our. Before I left the track, Nancy had called me, and she was at the airport. She was flying in on Friday night after work, and she wasn't going to get down there till about 11:00. She called me, and she said, hey, your mom just called me, and they rushed Dad to the hospital. And I said, okay. And she's like, should I get on the plane or should I stay? Should I go to the hospital and be with your mom? I said, I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't heard from my mom, so I don't know. I said, Nancy, I'm driving over to Napa. I got to get some parts before they close. As soon as I get out of Napa, I'll call my mom, maybe by then she'll know a little bit more. Nancy had about an hour to kill at the airport, so we had a little bit of time. I said, give me about 45 minutes. I'll call my mom and see what's going on. So I did. I went to Napa. My uncle wanted to grab something to eat. Local, a southern chain down there called Steaks and Shakes. If you can, I don't know if you guys ever ate it.
Love Steak and Shakes.
Yeah, Steak and Shakes. Also, if you ever see a Steak and Shake when you travel, stop. It's whenever we go to Florida, down south, we always stop at Steak and Shakes and get something to eat.
I don't know
anyway,
if Eric's
Steak and Shakes.
familiar with Steak and Shakes. Do they have hot dogs?
Oh, my God. Here we go.
Eric Bryan, they have great hot dogs there, and we all know.
It's funny because
anyway,
they do.
Anyway, so we go to Steaks and Shakes because of this crazy diet I'm on. I really couldn't eat much. So as my uncle was eating dinner, I said, well, it's a great time for me to go out and call my mom. So I went out to the parking lot and called my mom. I said, Nancy said that you were afraid Dad had an aneurysm, and you guys are at the hospital. What's going on? My mom's like, no, I overreacted. He didn't look good this morning, so we had the ambulance come get him and bring him to the hospital. I said, so what's going on? Because Nancy said if you need her, she'll blow off the Florida trip, get back in her car. She was at Atlantic City Airport, come back up to Jersey Shore Hospital in Neptune, New Jersey, and sit with you. And she's like, no, I overreacted. Tell her I'm sorry. The doctors are saying he's just dehydrated and he needs, a couple bags of IV, and he might even be able to go home tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. I said, okay, so she can get on the plane and fly down. My mom said, yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about it. We're fine. As we were talking, I hear my dad in the background mumbling, how's the race car? Ask him how the race car's going. So, my mom's like, I'll put him on the phone with you. He wants to know how the race car's going. I said, okay, great. So she put him on the phone. We talked a little bit, and I told him that the car was better than last year, that I kept them updated before we left, that we were putting headers and stuff on the car. I told him, I said, everything worked. Everything worked this plan. We picked up the 410s we were missing. At the time, I didn't know that the other cars had been a little faster because I didn't see them on the track yet. He's all right, great, man. That's great. I'm really happy for you that the car's going good. Call us tomorrow after your race or after practice and let us know how you compare to the local guys in there. I said, okay, great. No problem. So we had a great little conversation about racing in the race car. And he put Mom back on the phone. I said, all right, guys, we're going back to the track to watch a country concert. And she's like, well, what are you doing tonight until Nancy gets here? I said, well, they're also having mud bogs out in the parking lot, at 8 o'clock, at 7:30 they're starting. I said, we're going to go check into the hotel room, get our room, watch the country concert. They had like a free barbecue. It was sponsored by Hoosier. A lot of people stayed around to watch the country band and hang out at the barbecue and talk racing while we're waiting for the mud box to start. So anyway, 7:30 comes. I don't know if you've ever been to a mud bog before. It's just like you've seen these country videos and stuff. It's just like a drag strip, but it's a mud bog. It's a mud hole. They drop through the mud hole. They got 2 fences lined up on each side of it. All these local kids show up with their 4-wheel drive trucks. They park alongside the fence, so your tailgates are facing the mud bog. They put their tailgates down. They sit. There's no grandstands. You sit on your tailgate next to the mud bog. You watch. Everybody's partying. They got music playing. The young girls with the short shorts, bikini tops, cowboy boots, country music blasting. Everybody's drinking. Everybody brings chips and food. It is a really great. It's like a tailgate with a mud bog going on. But if you've ever been to the races down south, they don't do anything on time. They're on their own time schedule down there. It was supposed to start at 7:30. 8 o'clock comes around, they ain't doing nothing. 8:30 comes around, they ain't doing nothing. We're an hour behind. So I said, well, this is a good time for me to plug my phone into my truck because I want to go live on Facebook or take pictures of the trucks going through the mud box to show everybody at home what I'm doing. So I plug my phone in my truck, and I'm hanging out with the locals, just talking to them, telling them I'm from Jersey, I'm here to race, and everybody's just hanging out, having a good time, Finally, like 9 o'clock, 9:15, they call for a driver's meeting, 9:30, they're finally 9:30, they're finally lining the trucks up for their first pass through the mud, 2 hours behind schedule. So I'm like, all right, great. I'll go grab my phone out of the front seat of my truck. They're getting ready to go here. I pick my phone up. There's missed calls, missed text messages, tons of them. I go, wow, something's going on. So first one I see is my mom. So I'm like, I better check this one first. I check it. She's like, Dad passed. All the message said was, Dad passed at 9:30 p.m. tonight, and he went quick. That's all she said. So I'm like, oh boy. So now we're faced with what are we going to do next? So I'm like, I don't know what to do. Nancy's in the air now. She's already flying down here, So Plus the mud box getting ready to start. I want to watch a little mud box racing. So I'm like, what do I do now? So I call my mom. I said, what's going on? She's like, Dad passed. I'm like, all right, well, how are you? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to get on? First I'm like, did he definitely pass? She's like, yeah, Scott, he definitely passed. I want to send you a text unless I know he passed, So I said, well, what's the next step? What do you want us to do? She's like, very luckily, my brother, Tim, is married to Lisa Wills, who is Jim Wills' sister, former modified driver Jim Wills, that passed away a few years ago. She stayed back in case something did happen. So my mom's like, I call Lisa. Lisa's getting a babysitter for the girls. She's coming to the hospital to give me a hand and sit with me. I said, Mom, I really don't want to, but I'm down here. If you want me to come home, we'll come home. She's like, no, absolutely not. Dad wouldn't want you to race. We want you to stay and race. Just stay and race. There's nothing you can do up here now. We'll deal with it when you get back. So I said, okay. So now I'm like trying to collect my thoughts. I'm with a bunch of strangers. I did have one friend there. My uncle didn't go to the mud box. He wasn't feeling well, so he went back to the hotel room. He's like, I'm just going to go to the hotel and hang out. I say to the mud box, I was literally there by myself. One guy came over that was on Eric Gooddale's team. He saw my truck in the pits, and he saw my truck at the mud box, and he was camping in the parking lot. So he came and sat with me, and he introduced himself as Mark Tooker. I raced with a Mark Tooker back in the 90s at Flemington Speedway. He's a Riverhead street stock guy, very, very talented man, beautiful race cars. I said, I know you, Mark Tooker. You won the race champions at Flemington, number 99, white, orange, and blue car. He's like, yeah, I wanted to tell you earlier when I saw you, but I didn't think you'd remember me yet. So we got talking, and this was before I found out my father passed. And we were literally talk racing for 5-10 minutes. Next thing I know, I'm sitting next to this guy, crying my eyes out, that my father passed away. And he was good. He sat with me the whole time, talking to me. He had a daughter that passed away when she was 21 years old. So he shared his stories with me and stuff like that. And so now we're all confused. So now, like, do I post something on Facebook that my dad passed? What's my next step here? I haven't talked to my brother yet. He was in New Smyrna. I gave him a few minutes because I knew he had to call his family. He's got 3 young daughters. I'm sure Lisa's calling him because now she's going on her way to her hospital. So I just sat there and took a breath, and I watched the first couple of trucks go through the mud, and it was relaxing. I watched it, and I said, all right. My brother finally called me. He says, what are we going to do? I said, Tim, I'm staying. I already thought about it. I already talked to Mom. I'm staying. I'm going to stay in the race. He said, all right, me too. He's like, but I might leave. He's like, when are you going home? I said, we're racing Sunday. I'm going to try to make it over to New Smyrna, but it's a crapshoot for the Canyon race. I'm going to drive a little bit home on Sunday night, not far, just get north of Jacksonville. Monday, I'm driving home. I'll be home late Monday. I'll be back to normal on Tuesday. He's like, all right, I might leave then too. I might head back early too. I'll spot the first night at New Smyrna for Eric, and then I'll see if I can get someone else to do it, and I'll head home too. That was our first plan. So I said, Tim, I'm gonna post something on Facebook. You all right with that? He's like, yeah, go ahead. Let's start getting the word out. So I did. I'm sure a lot of people saw the post on Facebook. As soon as I posted that, I wasn't ready for what was going to happen. My phone went nuts. There was people calling from New Jersey. Rob McMullen, he owns Canonwood Landscaping. He was one of the first ones to call me. He said, Scott, if you need me to jump on a plane and fly down there.
Yeah, that level of support is unbelievable. I mean, and it's wild because, in racing, the mantra is always not the show must go on, but we must go on. And usually that's linked to something that happens on track. But as we've seen over the years, there are things that happen just through the course of life, or things that happen off track. And the general mantra continues to be, we must go on, not just the show, but us as people. And it was shown this weekend by you guys, Scott, by your brother.
Rob literally offered to fly down and get my race car stuff in so I can fly back home. I said, Rob, no, we decided to stay and race. Mark Tooker, the guy I was sitting with that I literally talked to him for 15 minutes, the first time in like 25 years. He said, Scott, you need to fly home. We'll take care of your race car stuff. We're heading back to Long Island at the end of the week anyway. He actually lives in Georgia now. He says, I don't care. I'll drive it all the way up to Jersey. I'll get it to your house. I'll fly back to Georgia, whatever you guys need to do. So, like I said, I talked to my mom. We already planned to stay in the race. So I was just telling everybody, no, the race car's fine. I'm staying here. I'm staying with it. We're going to stay and race. And so that was Friday night. And I did. I stayed at the mud box all night. The mud box didn't get over to like 12:30 at night. Nancy finally got into town. So I literally just sat there and watched mud box all night. And when I needed a moment, when I started getting upset, I'd walk over to the bathrooms, go to the bathrooms, walk back to the track, start talking to some of the locals. They were talking to me. They didn't even know what was going on. They just seen this guy like every once in a while walking around away and crying, But no, it was kind of fitting to me that I just sat there and watched Mudbox, and went back to the hotel. Nancy was there by then, so that was all good. We woke up Saturday morning. I saw the Ryan Priest fake Instagram post. It cheered me up. We didn't have to be back to. We didn't have to be back to the track till 3:00, so we had a few hours to kill. Nancy rented a Dodge Charger rental car with a Hemi in it, so we had some fun with that.
Oh God!
We gave that a daily beating.
You got the extra insurance, right?
Yeah, it was under Nancy's name. She said I could drive. Cheer me up. It was a rental car.
Relationship goals.
Yeah, we beat the snot out of that car. There was a abandoned like a Dollar General store not far from the hotel room, and had a big parking lot out back. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Dodge Chargers with Hemi motors, they do donuts really, really good. I mean, you can get a bunch of donuts twisting with that thing. We had fun with that. We went to breakfast. We went to a place called the Huddle House, kind of like the Waffle House, but I actually like the Huddle House a little bit better. We went and had breakfast there. I put that post on Facebook, and it had over 700 likes or something like that, over 400 comments or something. So while I was sitting at breakfast with Nancy, it gave me a minute to sit and read my Facebook and Instagram and catch up on my text messages and instant messages. And the support was just crazy that I was getting. We had breakfast. We still had an hour to kill. Nancy still saw I was pretty upset after reading all the comments. And there was down there in Florida, there's a lot of springs, natural springs. And there was a park, like a state park. It was called Manatee State Park. They're known for the manatees that swim up into the warm water. And it had a campground. And one of my other passions, other than racing, is camping. So Nancy's like, why don't we take a ride through the state park? Let's go see if we can see any manatees. Let's go see the springs. Let's just ride around the campground and look at the campers. Let's, just take a breather before we head to the racetrack. So that's what we did. It was $6 to get into this state park. They give you all these pamphlets and brochures when you pull in. We drove around the campground first. The campground was actually sold out, so great for them. Beautiful campers, people camping. We were around, look at the campers. Went back to the springs. Saw a bunch of people in diving equipment. They were all diving. There was like a club, like a diving club, like scuba diving. And there was some in the water, some out of the water. So, me being nosy, me and Nancy being nosy. We walked over and we asked them, how it was weird because it looked like a little pond, no bigger than like a tennis court, I said, and it looked like a mud puddle, it had like moss all over it and stuff. Didn't look very deep. Diver came up. I said, what are you guys doing? He's like, there's actually a cave system down there. You go about 60 foot underwater, leads to cave systems, and you can go 100 feet deeper in these cave systems. So that was a pretty cool little side story. So we hung out there and talked to the divers for a little while, got my mind's off thing. Went back to the hotel room, picked up my uncle. Me and my uncle went to the track. I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook, but I posted I needed red and silver duct tape.
Yep.
To put my dad's number on the car. I only had white and blue. My cars are white and blue. That's why I carry white and blue duct tape. He ran a white car at one time and he made numbers out of red and silver duct tape. I thought it'd be pretty cool that I do that. We get to the track. Of course, everybody's coming over. I mean, Ryan Priest came over. Matt Hirschman came over. Matt Hirschman's wife was tremendous. She sat with me for 15 minutes talking to me. Reverend Don from Racing with Jesus was there. He came over and sat with me. He got some information of my father. for the drivers' meeting, did a little prayer. He did the invocation before the modified race. They did a whole thing for my father. And here we are in Florida, and they're talking about my father. It was pretty amazing. So practice started. I was able to practice a little bit, get my mind off things. Now the other cars are there. The other pure stocks are there. So now I'm going to see where I stack out with them. I go out with them. I can stay with them. I can't catch them. I can stay with them. I can't pass them. I come in. I had a couple of now Ron Becker, former 4-cylinder driver at Wall Stadium. Now he showed up to help. So I had a couple crew guys. I had one guy timing me. I had my other crew guy timing the competition to see where we stacked out with him.
I believe he passed you on the way down to Florida, right?
Yeah, we were hopscotching each other on the way down to Florida. If you ever travel to Florida, you're always going to see somebody, and it's weird because, I'll pass another race car being towed by a motorhome, and they'll say, like, Jones Racing on them, Marlboro, New Hampshire or something, and it'll just stick in my mind, and they'll blow by me. And then later, I'll pass them. They'll be in a rest area. You pass them, and then they pass you back like you hopscotch all the way going down. And that this year it was Ron Becker. We were hopscotching all the way down there. So he arrived. He actually goes to Volusia on Friday night and watches the sprint cars, and then he comes over to Bronson on Saturday, helps me on Saturday, and then he went to New Smyrna to watch Canaan races on Sunday. So he was there timing. So I came in. My uncle's like, "Wow, I was timing you." He's like, we did high 16.0s, 16.1s yesterday. We just did an O flat, almost a 15.9, but not quite. It was an O flat, a 16.0 flat. So we were faster Saturday and we were on Friday. So I was happy. And then Ron came walking out of the grandstand. He's like, "Oh yeah, I timed the track champion over in that Camaro. He did a 15.8, and then I timed that Camaro over there. He finished second in points. He did a 15.8. I'm like, oh, great. We gained our 10, but they're 2/10 faster now. So whatever. We get through practice. Now my brother shows up to spot for Eric. First time I see my brother since we got word that Dad had passed. So I spent a few minutes with my brother. We really didn't get upset. We didn't really talk about Dad or him passing. We talked about what are we going to do next. I said, "Tim, what do you want to do? Should I race tomorrow?" That subject came back up. I said, "Mom, my mom texted me, Scott, just stay and race. You put too much effort and spend too much money to go down there. Dad will want you to race to stay and race." So I got to the point where I can't talk anymore. So I just showed Tim the text message. I said, "Here's the text message Mom sent me." I said, "I'm going by that. Anybody has opinions about me not being up there, this is what she told me to do. So that's what I'm doing." He's like, "Well, I'll leave Monday too and head home early." I said, "Tim, just stay the whole week. Just stay and race. Eric's counting on you." The Goodales were great. They're like, "If you guys need to go home, just go home. We'll find something in the spot for Eric." Tim didn't want to do that though. He wants to stay and race. Not only that, but they had that big John Blue Memorial race on Wednesday at New Smyrna, and he takes pride in that race. Him and John were best friends. So I'm sure they want to win that race real bad. So I said, "Tim, I'm fine if you stay. I'll be back Tuesday. I'll go see Mom on Tuesday." So since then he has decided to stay. So he is doing the whole week down there. So we have the drivers meeting. Reverend Don does his whole thing about my dad. So now the local people know, the Florida people I'm racing with now. Now they're all coming over. I'm still looking for red and silver duct tape, so now they're coming over. So everybody's coming over. I'm like, I did put it on the car in white real quick for practices and stuff. I put my father's number was 7X. I put the 7X number on the car in white. I had white duct tape, but I really wanted the red and silver. So everybody came over and was giving me condolences, and they didn't know. They don't know me, but after the drivers meeting, they knew my story. I was looking for red and silver duct tape real bad. Nobody had it. We're at a southern track, a very small short track. There's no parts track. I kind of could just go by it. Well, now Nancy arrives to the track with her friend Patty. She has a friend Patty that lives in Tampa. She came up to see the races. She came up to see Nancy. They didn't come right to the track for practice. They actually, went and did their own thing for a little while. They went out to lunch. They went to a bar, had a couple of drinks, and got caught up being friends for so long. They got caught up on things. Well, Nancy arrives at the track. I see her walking into the pits with red and silver duct tape. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking she stopped and got it. She stopped at a Pep Boys or Napa or whatever. I said, "Nancy, where'd you get the duct tape from?" I asked every race car here. Nobody had any. She's like, "Scott, there was a guy standing at the back gate." I said, "Really?" he couldn't get in because he wasn't buying a pit pass. He was going into the grandstands with his family. He had young kids with him. He saw it on Facebook. He was a local guy. He saw it on Facebook. He actually stopped at the store and had picked up the tape for us.
Wow.
I will say there is nothing like the racing community. I mean, even between rivals, the way that they treat you. I mean, and I found out, personally, I mean, they've always been good to me. I found out real fast, but especially over the past year for me. And it's showing again right here for Scott. I mean, like you said, in Florida, of all places, and like you said, people now are just now seeing your story and your post there, and for somebody to, I'm assuming you guys had never met or seen this guy before, right?
No, he was totally saw it on Facebook, but Nancy was quick to react because she didn't know the guy either. She just seen the guy standing at the back pit gate holding red and silver duct tape, and she just took a long shot and said, "Is that for Scott Riggleman? Did you bring that tape for Scott Riggleman?" And he said, "Yeah, I did." She introduced herself. She said, "I'm Nancy Riggleman. I'm Scott's wife. I'm going in the pits. I can bring it to him." He's like, "Well, that's great because I'm not buying a pit pass. I'm going in the grandstands. I've been standing over here for an hour trying to get his attention, but I wasn't nowhere near the pit gate. He was trying to wave me down,
Wow.
And he also told us that he was a sign painter. He actually bought paint to the track. He's like, "Listen, I'm willing to go in the pits and letter Scott's car with the number. If you need me to paint it on, I'll paint it on." But the moral to that story was I wanted duct tape because I posted the picture on Facebook of my dad's white car with duct tape numbers on it. The story behind that was my dad was a very budget-minded racer, like all of us, but, he was raising me and Tim when he raced. He painted his car white, street stock white, and it was race day. He didn't have extra money to get it lettered. He literally took red duct tape and silver duct tape, put a 7X on the car, trimmed it up with a razor blade, made it look presentable. And I remember to this day him saying, "Well, that's good for tonight. I'll get it lettered when I get some extra money." He ran that duct tape number for 2 years, never got the car lettered. So that was the moral of the story. That's why I wanted to do it in duct tape. I wanted to do it in red and silver duct tape and put the 7X on the car. And that guy saved the day. He really did. We did find him on Facebook because he did put something in the comments. "I'm here with your duct tape. If you can get a hold of me, I'm standing by the pit gate." I never saw the message until it was too late. He did say he was going to come in the pits after the races. The races got over late, real late. I never did see him in the pits. So we private messaged him and thanked him and everything. So that was really, really cool.
That's just amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. So now we get into race time. Like I said, the modifieds had time trials. They were the only division due to low car counts, and all the other divisions we just did pill draw. They did time trials for the modifieds. The top 6 in the modifieds redrew. It was there was the modified tour race won 50 laps, and then there was a race in between. I really forget which division it was. I think it was the E mods they call them down. It stands for economy modified. It's kind of like an IMCA modified. I think they were in between us, which worked out great for me because now I just went over to the grandstands because part of the reason I go down there is to watch the modifieds, and they did the redraw in the front straightaway for the top 6. Eric Goodale, our good buddy Eric Goodale, he drew the pole. So we were pretty excited about that. Matt Hirschman was 3rd or 4th. Matt was super fast in time trials. Matt, I think he was a 10th or 2 faster than the 2nd place car. And we all know Matt, when there's money on the line, he's there to win. Like I said before, ARCA was down there testing out a new Spafco. They chose to start on the pole. They led a few laps. Their game plan was to drop back and save the tires. If anybody's ever watched Matt Hirschman do it, that's 90% of the reason why he wins these big races. He knows tire management real well. Eric tried that game. He actually fell back a little too far. They were hoping for a caution. There was a couple cautions early in the race. He never got the caution he was looking for towards the end of the race. Towards the end of the race, when it was about 15 to go, my brother told him on the radio, he's like, it's spread out now. We might not get the caution. You got to go now. Don't worry about saving the tires. Let's go. He did make his way back up to 5th, so that was a good run for him. Matt did win. There was a kid named Craig Lutz. He's a Riverhead guy. I don't know if you know him, but he drives for the other Goodale family, Russell Goodale's team. Eric drives for his fire. Eric Goodale. Russell is Eric's uncle. They have their own tour team separate from Eric's. And Craig Lutz ran really good. It took Eric a while to pass him, but once Eric did get past him, he did pull away. He kind of made the end of the race a little boring because Eric just was not Eric, but Matt was so dominant. Matt Hirschman kind of stunk up the show a little bit from a fan point of view. From his point of view, I'm sure it was exactly what he planned. He loved the race. He smoked them, and we never got a late caution. So, but it was cool seeing modifieds. There was 13 modifieds there. Perfect track for modifieds. Picture a little bit bigger, wider Wall Stadium. It puts on great modified racing. So I watched that race. So as soon as that checker flag fell, I ran back into the pits to get my race car ready. I didn't see the race in between. Then we lined up. I started third, and I got up to second on the start of the race. Of course, I really wanted to win the race for my father, and I wanted to win all the effort we put into it. But but you got to remember we're racing on Sunday too, so we got to get out of there in one piece. I did get up to second. I was running second for a while. I got passed by a guy there that I met that day, and I talked to him, and he told he welcomed me to Bronson Speedway. He actually lived maybe only a mile from the track, and he's been racing there a long time. He was even a little bit older than me. He had over 100 wins at the track. He passed me it was a 20-lap race. He probably passed me around lap 12. And then I was following him for a little while. I said, well, here's a good shot for me following him and learn the track a little bit from him. So I was following him, and we were catching the leader, who was another great guy. He actually loaned me tires because I only went that number 4 tire, and I actually got a flat in practice, and he loaned me a right front tire and rim. He was leading the race, and I started noticing he had blue flames starting to shoot out of his pipes. It usually means your timing's off, or you got a plug wire burned up, or spark plug's going bad or something. And he started breaking up. So me and the guy that I was following was able to pass him. So now I'm running second again to this guy that has over 100 wins at the track. I'm running second. But then I get passed by another Camaro, and he's the defending track champion. So now I'm running third. And I didn't really have nothing for them. They actually started pulling me a couple car lengths. But then they got running side by side. So I said, well, here's my shot. I can catch them now that they're running side by side, and maybe they'll take each other out, and I'll get lucky and get a win here. This is just going through my mind. It's my own chance of winning. If these guys do something wrong and I luck into this thing. So I'm staying close to them, but far enough back in case something happens, I can pass them if they wreck. Coming off 4 for the checker, it almost happened. They got together, and they were both sideways, but the leader of the race was able to save it. The guy in second spun, and I did pass him and finished second, so it was a good race.
Scott, did you happen to have your GoPro on for this?
You know what the funny thing is there? They don't allow GoPros.
Really?
Yeah. Ann Young's the owner of the track, and she wants to keep it old school. She wants to keep it she always says, I want it to be like the way racing used to be. No receiver down there, no transponders, real like old school racing. Last year I went down there and I had the GoPro. She's like, Scott, we don't allow GoPros here. And she refers to her type of racing as peanut butter and jelly. She's like, this is a peanut butter and jelly track. This ain't steak and lobster. That's a big tagline. Yeah, I think it's pretty funny that she keeps it inexpensive and simple. It's peanut butter and jelly. I said, and I drove 1,000 miles to race here. I'd like to bring a souvenir home. I sold it to her as a souvenir from Bronson Speedway. She's like, all right, Scott, I'll let you run your GoPro. But if any of the local competitors ask why am I running it, and you got to tell them that it's a one-time deal, and just because you live so far away, we're gonna let you do it. So she let me run the GoPro last year, and she let me run it this year. So I do have some GoPro footage. Unfortunately, before we started the podcast, I looked at it. Practice came out good. The Sunday feature came out good. The Saturday feature came out good, but for some reason my GoPro shut off at 17:35, and usually if my GoPro shuts off, it starts up again. It didn't start up again, so I don't have the footage at the end of the race where the guy spins out in front of me, which I'm disappointed I missed because it was pretty cool. But Nancy did go live from Facebook and do it. So anyway, yeah, I did run the GoPro.
Nice.
So we get through Saturday night and everything goes good. Now it's over. Nancy and her friend Patty said they're going back to the hotel room. The little town we stayed in, everything closes at 11. If you don't get there at 11, you ain't getting nothing to eat. Nancy's like, all right, well, you're done. We got through tech. I tell you what, they got a great tech down there. The guy's name is Grizz, real Southern draw, big beard. He looks like a guy from Duck Dynasty. I'm like, this guy. In the back of my mind, I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover. I'm looking at this tech guy. I'm like, this guy ain't going to check nothing. He doesn't know anything. I tell you what, it was one of the best techs I ever had. The guy, really knew his stuff. He read my heads, everything by weight down there. If you have closed chambered heads like the fuelie heads or the open chamber heads, like the Smolik heads, you got to add weight and take weight off. I had to, so he checks to see what head you are, checks your weights in the car, make sure you're doing it right. Same with the intakes. If the intakes are aluminum or cast iron, you got to add weight. So I had a cast iron intake. That's why I was able to weigh 3,200. The guys, like I said, be 3,300. So he wanted to make sure all of your specs met up with your weights, and he was thorough. He actually did something in tech. I've been racing all my life. I've never seen anybody do. They took my air cleaner off and they shined a black light into the carburetor. So I said, well, what's that do? Why are you shining a black light into my carburetor? He's like, well, if you did any machine work inside this carburetor to open it up and make it bigger, the black light would show the scratches from where you did the machine work at. And I thought that was pretty top notch, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's why I travel and go to different tracks. You learn stuff. And I learned something that day. They also use a black light on the tires to make sure you don't soak them, because if you have chemicals on your tires, it'll show up in the black light. Just like, they do a murder crime scene or something like that. They'll shine a black light on sheets or something like that,
Just don't do it in air.
Yeah. So going through tech was pretty exciting. And we get through tech. Now it's time to load up. Nancy's like, now it's like 10:30, 10:45. Nancy's like, I'm going to head into town and get everybody dinner. I'll stop somewhere and get food for the room. Why don't you guys stop at if you know my wife, she's like, why don't you guys stop at a liquor store and get the liquor and bring back to the hotel?
Yes, Nancy, yes.
So that was the plan. Her and Patty skipped out to go get the food before the stores closed. She's like, you guys get loaded up, you stop and get the liquor, and we'll meet back at the hotel, and we'll hang out and have dinner and have a couple of drinks. And I don't drink, but they were going to drink. And hang out by the pool. There was a pool, hot tub, stuff like that at the hotel. So my friend Ron Becker was there with his father, and they had their own car. I said, Ron, listen, me and Danny can get the car loaded up. Why don't you run to the liquor store before it closes and get what the girls want, and I'll meet you at the hotel. Well, he was still standing there like 10 minutes later. I said, Ron, you don't want to leave, do you? You want to go watch the other races, right? He's like, yeah, let's go watch, because they still had like I said, the Southeast Super Truck Series. They had a 4-cylinder division that he was into. They call them strictly stocks. There are 4-cylinder divisions. He's a 4-cylinder race car driver, so he wanted to watch the 4 cylinders. So I looked at Ron. I said, "You're going to get me in trouble, but screw it. Let's stay and watch the races." So we kind of left the girls hanging on their liquor, and they're texting us, "Where are you guys at? Where are you guys at?" And we're still loading the car up. Meanwhile, we're sitting in the grandstands watching the races, quick cool story. In the truck race, Ross Chastain, the Xfinity driver, his brother was racing in the truck series. I think his name was Chad Chastain, and he led most of the race. And cool truck, had the watermelons on it. The watermelon paint scheme that Ross is going for. It was really cool. And he finished third. He finished second. He did lose the lead with about 5 to go. He started getting loose and got passed. It was a great race, and they do the top 3 in victory lane there, and he pulled in because he was second. And his brother was there. Ross Chastain was there helping his brother, and they interviewed him in victory lane, and it was cool. So they had a little NASCAR feel there. Then we watched the Strictly Stocks come rolling out, and it's a cool division. It's Strictly Stocks, all 4 cylinders. There was pickup trucks out there. There was Cavaliers out there. There were Saturns out there. There was Mercedes-Benzes out there. There was BMWs out there. It was a great race. We were shocked by one thing. When they rolled out on the track, they said, keep an eye on number 3. It was painted like Dale Earnhart's car. Driver's 11 years old. The kid was 11 years old driving that race car. Yeah, 11 years old. He did get caught up in a wreck. There was a big wreck on the back straightaway. He did get caught up in it, so we really never got to see him going. And the wreck was no means his fault. And I'm not saying that 11-year-old kid shouldn't be racing, and he wrecked right away. There was a big wreck, and he just got caught up in it. So we never really got to see him race. But, it was kind of freaky seeing an 11-year-old kid out there. But, it's a different place. Back to the mud bogs, if you want to talk about something weird. The mud bogs, something that we will never see in New Jersey. The one truck goes out. There's a guy driving. He's got a helmet on. His wife's in the passenger seat with a helmet on. She's got their son that looked about 5 years old sitting on her lap with the helmet on as they went through the mud box. I looked at the locals. I'm like, that would never happen at in New Jersey. And they said, well, the kid was probably maybe 21 years old, 22 years old. He said a line to me that it stuck with me the whole week. And he said, "That's Florida freedom, my friend." And I just started laughing. So that was cool. I said, "Yeah, New Jersey's real strict." He's like, "Yeah, we have Florida freedom." And I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was our Saturday night. So we stayed and watched the races, and then we went back to the hotel room and ate our cold food and got stared at.
Cold food and no beer, right?
Yeah, no, we actually did stop at a gas station. That was down there. They sell beer right in the gas station. We stopped at a gas station, got some beer and stuff like that, and went back to the room and we ate cold food and we talked a little bit about my father and just the day's events in general. And then so once again down there on Sunday, so we go to bed Saturday. We probably go to bed about 2:30. I get up around 7. I can't sleep past 7 for some reason, but I get up around 7. Still reading my text messages and everything from my father passing. Once again, I think we just walked over to Burger King or something like that and got something small for breakfast, and we brought it back to the room and hung out, and everybody took showers and stuff like that. We had to be out of the hotel room by 11:30. We stretched until like noon. I didn't have to be back to the racetrack till 12:30 because they're not allowed to start engines till after 12:30. So they just told me get back to the track around 12 or 12:30. So by then, like I said early in the podcast, Nancy was a guest of a K&N East team over at New Smyrna. So she wasn't going back to the track with me Sunday. Ron Becker, my other crew guy, was actually, him and his father had planned on going back over to New Smyrna to see the K&N cars as well. Patty, our other friend that was visiting up from Tampa, she's a nurse. She actually had to be at work at 6:30 p.m. To do her night shift as a nurse. So she actually left to go back to work. Nancy and Ron Becker headed over to New Smyrna. Me and Uncle Danny went back to the racetrack. There was less divisions there on Sunday. We had a game plan. They had originally said features were going to start at 3. They're going to try to make me the first feature because I had told them that I was trying to get over to New Smyrna. The K&N race was starting at 7:30. I was trying to get out of there. I had a drop dead time of 5 o'clock. If I can get out of there before 5 o'clock, we're going to head to New Smyrna and watch K&N cars. If it turned to be around 5:30, we were just going to start heading home because we were never going to make it over for the K&N race. The advantage we had of that is Nancy was over there. She could tell us if the show was running late or not. Maybe we could make it. But Nancy said, "Scott, they're going off at 7:30. There's weather coming in. There's calls for thunderstorms." NBC Sports was there filming. So they had the camera crews there. That gets expensive for NASCAR. So they start right on time when there's a camera crew there. She's like, "Scott, if you don't," and she just drove it. So she knew it took 2.5 hours to get there. She said, "Scott, if you don't get out of there by 4:30, 5 o'clock, don't chance it. You're not going to make it over here in time." So here we are again, once again in the South. We're getting close to this 3 o'clock feature start time, and they're still having practice.
Oh.
Now practice is over, and everybody's standing around. So I find an official. I said, "Hey, listen, you guys advertised the 3 o'clock feature start time. What are we doing? It's 3:15. We haven't even had the drivers' meeting yet." He's like, "Oh, Ann, the owner of the track's in a very important meeting. We're waiting for Ann." So I'm like, "Oh, great, of all times, she has to have this meeting, you know?" So anyway, 4 o'clock, they call the drivers' meeting. So we all go up to the drivers' meeting. I'm not very happy. We're an hour behind schedule because the owner of the track had a meeting, which, why would you have a meeting at 3 o'clock when features supposed to start at 3 o'clock? So I was a little mad. So I pulled her aside. I said, "Ann, remember, I'm trying to make it to New Smyrna, and you promised me the races would start at 3. She apologized. She did. She apologized. She's like, "Scott, I'm going to address it in the driver's meeting. I'm very sorry, but it's for a very, very good reason." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So now I'm just like, whatever. If I make it to New Smyrna, I make it to New Smyrna. So during the driver's meeting, she introduces a guy that she was having a meeting with, and he showed up that day and gave her enough money to pay the full purses, even though the car counts were a little low. They have a retro system there. If there's 10 cars there, they pay this much. If there's 15 cars there, they pay this much. So he gave her some money to pay the full purses. He talked to her a little bit about becoming a partner with her. So they had a very good meeting, and she apologized to her an hour behind schedule. She had a meeting. She introduced the guy. The guy talked to him, said who he was, what his background in racing was, what his plan was to help and with Bronson Speedway financially. So great for them, bad for me because, put me behind. Great for Bronson Speedway and Ann Young.
Well, good for you if you go back next year.
Yeah, good for me if I go back next year. Good for that day because we were short on the car, so they paid the full purse. Anyway, so now I see the feature lineups, and I'm not even the first feature. She promised me first feature, and they had a traveling modified series there, so they can travel home. She let them start to have the first feature. Their race, they go very fast. It actually helped me that there was a race in between. It gave me time to get ready for my race a little bit longer. I go out and everything was pill draw again, no heat races. I drew the pole, and I said, "Wow,
Nice.
I draw the pole." My uncle's like, "You gonna start up there?" Because you gotta remember the other guys are a little faster, a little more experienced at the track. I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna start up there." I said, "What do I got to lose?" The race was 20 laps because they were running late in show. A couple of the racers came over to me and said, "Hey, Scott, I know you drove far, and we usually run 20 laps here, but we're like an hour and a half behind schedule. It's Sunday. These guys got to work on Monday. They have other plans with their families, Sunday dinner, whatever." They're like, "Would you mind if we cut the race back to 15 laps?" And at first I wasn't happy about it because I did drive far, and then, it's only a 20-lap race. Now we're cutting to 15. But then I thought a second. I said, "You know what? I'm starting on the pole." Yeah, I said, yeah, why not? It's 5 less laps. I got to hold these guys off. And I said, just jokingly, I'm like, "You guys cut it to 10 laps if you want. I don't care. Cut it to 5 laps. And then they started laughing. They're like, "Oh, maybe we will keep it 20. So no, they went with 15 laps. So I was able to get the jump on them, and I was able to hold them off. But they were right on me, pushing me around the track, gave me a couple of good shots, but I was able to handle it. And the last couple of laps, I looked in the mirror, and I was actually starting to pull away a little bit. But anyway, I win the race. I'm a mess in victory lane, a total mess. You know what I'm saying? Ann Young's being super sweet. They have a guy very similar to Eric, a younger guy that's into broadcasting and doing the interviews. Ann's down there with her cell phone. She's videotaping the victory lane, taking victory lane pictures, stuff like that for Facebook. She's like, "Scott, are you here alone?" I said, "No, my uncle's here." She's like, "Do you want him down here?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't matter, because now the next feature's lined up and they're ready to come out. I'm sure these guys want to get going." So I didn't want to make a big deal in victory lane and take up too much time. Not like Wall Stadium where they pull us off the track into the pits and do victory lane. We still do victory lane right in the they have a victory lane set up right by the start finish line in front of the grandstands. And you're allowed to bring your crew down, family, stuff like that. She's like, "Scott, you can't send in these pictures by yourself." And she's like, "I'll send my track guy up to go get her." So they sent the track truck up to find my uncle and bring him down to victory lane. Meanwhile, they go to interview me. Very first question, the announcer's mouth, he hit me with the father question, and I couldn't even talk. I was a mess, So they gave me a break. My uncle showed up. Ann's like, "Scott, let's do the victory lane photos." The people in the grandstands are cheering and clapping. They were talking about my story over the loudspeaker that I drove from Jersey. My dad passed away on Friday, and my uncle came down. I calmed down a little bit. We took the victory lane pictures. I was getting ready get back in the car, and Ann's like, "Scott, you can't leave without doing a victory lane interview. I need it for Facebook and in our press." She's like, "I'll tell the announcer, just talk about the race first, and then we can ease into your father passing." I said, "Okay." So we did. The kid changed his, the way he interviewed me, and we talked about the race and my travels. He kind of let me bring in my dad. He didn't ask. He let me, when I was ready to talk about it, to bring it in, and I did. And I dedicated the win to my father. The people in the grandstands clapped and everything. They really gave me a great ovation over it and stuff like that. So that was it. We loaded, got back in the car, went to tech, thorough tech again, thorough tech. A couple of the guys were joking around with me. "Oh, we're going to check your cam. You got to pull your cam out." The one guy even got so far to take money out of his pocket and give it to the tech guy, fill the form out. And then he looked at me and winked and, said, "Good for you. I'm glad you won for your father." And he walked away. So we were in tech for about 15, 20 minutes. Then I went to load up and we looked at our watch. It was 5:15. I didn't really care about the payout, but the trophy they had in victory lane was just for pictures, and I really want to at least leave with my trophy, you know what I'm saying? So I had to wait for the next race to get done because Ann, the owner of the track, had the trophies in her office, and she was down on the track doing the last interview for the race. So I had to wait for her to come back. I said, "Ann," I seen her walking into the office. I said, "Ann, I don't care about my payout. You can mail it to me. I just want to grab the trophy and go. I want to try to get over to New Smyrna." So she's like, "Okay." So I go in her office. I get the trophy from her. She's like, "Scott, I got the pictures on your cell phone. if you want to post them on Facebook, I'll send them to you. I have the interview. I have some clips of the race. So now we're in another 15, 20 minutes. She's trying to send it to me. There's not that much great Wi-Fi out there, so she's having trouble sending it. It's failing. I really want the picture because I want to post it on Facebook. So I spent a little too much time with her trying to get the picture and get the trophy and stuff like that. So back time I got in my truck, it was 5:45. I call over to Nancy. I said, I can haul ass over there. Maybe they'll be behind schedule. She's like, Scott, they're right on schedule. There's only 2 divisions here. There's Florida modifieds and the Canaan cars. They're going to start racing at 7:30. You might not get here at 8:30. It might not be worth it for you. Plus, there's thunderstorms. They're calling for thunderstorms. There's clouds rolling in. It was just against us. It wasn't going to work out. So I got my trophy. I wasn't worried about the payout. We were loaded up. So I said to Michael, I said, let's just start heading back. Maybe we can get to South Carolina and get a hotel room. So as I was leaving, once again, the other racers came up to me and thanked me for coming down. And, sorry about your father. We're glad you won. So now I'm thinking, I'm like, these guys let me win. You know what I'm saying? Let's So the one guy said to him, I said, come here. I said, I've been racing all my life. I don't want a pity win. Were you on it? He's like, Scott, I burnt my right rear off trying to catch you. You won that race. I even tried shoving you the last couple laps. You didn't move an inch. You won that race. We didn't give you anything. I said, okay, great. So I left. They were happy, smiling. Now I'm pulling out the gate, and Young comes back out. Scott, pictures still won't go through. I promise you, I will keep trying to send these pictures to you all night until you get them. Just let me know when they come through. We get a couple hours from the track. I want to post on Facebook. But I want to post with the picture. I still no pictures. I'm like, this lady's got payout to do. She's had a long weekend. She runs the racetrack. She's been there since Friday. So finally, I put a post up saying I won the race. Stuff like that. We drive to like midnight. We get into South Carolina. Still no texts, no pictures. I go to sleep, take a shower, go to sleep. I wake up in the morning. There's 15 pictures of me and Victor, 15 pictures of me on the racetrack from Ann Young's personal cell phone. 2 a.m. She did exactly what she said. She drove home. She lives over by Daytona. She got Wi-Fi over there. 2 o'clock in the morning. This lady's been there since Friday morning.
My.
She did exactly what she said. So in the morning, I was able to post Victory Lane photos. So that was really cool. So now we get to Monday. Sunday was good. Riding home, big smile on everybody's face. Stopped at Steaks and Shakes one last time for my uncle to get dinner. Got it to go. We're eating in the truck. I can't eat much, but I ate as much as I could. Uncle got a strawberry shake for celebrate our win. Big smiles on our faces. We get all into South Carolina, find a hotel room, spend the night. Our plan was get up 7, take showers, get out of there by 8, get back on the road by 8. We're only 10 hours, 11 hours from home now. Our plan was to be home 7, 8 o'clock. We were going as planned. We're cruising right along. Another sunny day. Nobody on the road. Everything is going good. My phone's going crazy. Everyone's congratulating me on the win. It was great that I won for my father. I don't know. We get into Virginia. I stop for gas. I fill the gas tank up. I hear the fuel pump whining and screaming. So I say to my uncle, I'm like, man, that fuel pump, it's made noise the last couple of years, but you can only hear it if you're low on gas or whatever. So, but when it was full of gas, you couldn't hear it. Well, we were full of gas and the thing was screaming. So I said to my uncle, I'm going to have to put a fuel pump in this truck when we get home. It was screaming. It didn't make it home. We made it through Baltimore. We made it probably 10 miles from the Delaware line, and we were driving, and the truck just didn't shut off, but I had no gas pedal. I had nothing. Just we're slowing down. I look at my uncle. I said, he was half asleep. He was dozing off. I kind of shook him and woke him up. I said, we're breaking down. He's like, wow, what's up? I said, I got no power, and the gas pedal, the truck's not rubbing up, never up. So I coast to the shoulder. Sure enough, the fuel pump's not working. 7 o'clock, 7:30, I think. We're in. And now we're booked down on the side of Route 95 with the truck trailer, race car.
And you were almost into Delaware at this point, correct?
Almost into Delaware. I was 114 miles from home because I had the GPS. I was there
out of 995 miles.
Yeah, out of a 2,000-mile round trip, I was 114 miles from home, which was it was a tease because we were almost home, and I was already planning because Nancy wasn't arriving home until like midnight. Her flight was getting in at 11. She still had to drive from Atlantic City. So I'm like, cool, I'll get home. I'll order Nancy dinner. I'll have dinner waiting for her. As I'm waiting for Nancy to get home, I'm going to upload my videos from the weekend. Perfect time to sit down for a couple hours and do my videos so everybody gets to see the videos. wishful thinking. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, because next thing I know, I'm sitting on the side of the road, screwed, not knowing what I'm going to do. I own a towing business. I know what the cost would be to get this thing towed off the road, a full unit, truck, trailer, race car. We're on the side of 95. Now I'm worried about the cops pulling up, forcing me to get it towed. All these thoughts are going through my mind. Meanwhile, still dealing with the passing of my father, still dealing with the emotional win. It's me and my uncle. My uncle's a very good mechanic. I know a few things about mechanics too. We have all the tools we need. We have a fully loaded toolbox. We have flashlights. I'm a truck driver by trade. I got my reflective triangles, flares, everything. I got everything set up like you should be as if you're broke down on the side of a highway. I'm trying to collect my thoughts, trying to get a game plan going here. I'm trying to see if we can get it running. We're old school mechanics. I said to Michael, it's got to be the fuel pump. It was whining. The truck will start. It will run for a little while, but you can't rev it up. Nothing. The check engine light wasn't coming on. So I'm like, it's not the motor. It's not the transmission. It's got to be the fuel pump. Anybody knows anything about fuel pumps that are in the gas tank? It's a fuel pump that's in the gas tank. Mm-hmm. Break out a hammer, start beating on the fuel tank, try to get it to start one last time. We're under there beating the shit out. I probably need a gas tank by now, but we're hammering on it. It'll start. It'll run for a minute. It'll stall out. I said, all right, time for plan B. We're not going to get it running here. Now it's 9:00 at night on a Monday. You're not going to get a part. We're not going to drop a gas tank on the side of 95. What are we going to do? Let's hit Facebook. Take a picture of the truck and trailer hit on the side of the road. We broke down right under an exit sign, so it was perfect. We're right by a mile marker sign. Take a picture of the race car broke down sideway. Take a picture of the exit sign. Post that I'm in Maryland. Hit the location thing. It came up as Rising Sun, Maryland. Post it on Facebook. Let's see what happens here. Oh my God, did my phone blow up? And it was unbelievable. Josh, you're gonna like this part. Josh, take one crazy guess who the first person to call me to see if he can help.
Not Eric Brennan.
No, never Eric Brennan.
Yeah, that wasn't Eric Brennan. I don't think Eric Brennan.
It would have to be. The thing is, it's down between two people. It has to either be Elliot Wall or Paul Hartwig.
Paul Hartwig was the very first phone call I got. He's like, Scott, I'm in North Carolina, but we're coming up. I'm towing the trailer. My dad's behind me with his dually. He's towing nothing. He can grab the race car, blah, blah, blah. But he's still 7 hours behind me. Yeah, hours behind me. The kid had, a lot of people give Paul grief, but in a time of need, Paul will go out.
He's got a heart of gold, man. He really does.
His family was on the. I actually had to cut him short. He's rambling on. Well, we'll do the best we can. Do this. One time we broke down. We did this and got it run. Try this. Try that. Try this. He was going on. Meanwhile, my phone's going crazy. I'm like, Paul, thank you, but you're 10 hours away, bud. I got to go with another option here. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, my phone's going crazy. Now Nancy sees it. She's upset. My mom's upset. Everybody's upset. Not that I had a bad weekend. My father passed was the bad part of the weekend. I had a great weekend. We won. We finished second. We had a great weekend. But now we're stranded.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you too much here, but I don't think we mentioned how many cars were in the division you were racing in for those 2 days.
There wasn't many. There was only a handful, 4 or 5 or something like that. Okay. There wasn't many cars at all down there. The best car count they had down there was, the Tour Mods had 13, but there was that truck series I said they had 13, and they were over the wall that they had 13. It was like one of the biggest counts they had. A lot of these southern tracks don't get big car counts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
But so back to being broke down, my phone's going crazy. Another thing that had it going against me when I left to go to Florida, I figured that was a good time to drop my tow truck off to get serviced and new tires put on it. So I left it at Barney's Service Center to get all new tires on it. They were going to do it Friday. No, they were going to do it Thursday. And when I was driving down there, on Thursday, Jimmy Blewett had called me and said, Scott, where are you at? I said, Jimmy, I'm in Baltimore. I'm on my way to Florida. I'm like, why? What's up? What do you need? I thought he needed race car parts because I know he was scrambling to get the race car done himself to get it down to Florida. He was planning on leaving Saturday to drive down to be at New Smyrna on Sunday for tech and race on Monday. He wasn't racing Bronson, so I'm thinking he needs race car stuff. So right away I'm thinking about, how can I get them in my garage? Who has a key to my garage? Stuff like that. He's like, I need your tow truck. I said, okay. I said, well, why do you need my tow truck? He's like, Danny Serrano. People know Danny Serrano. He runs Bridgeport Speedway. His grandmother passed away, and they were having the viewing for her Thursday night. And she was a diehard race fan. She wanted race cars at her viewing. That was one of the last things she told Danny. She's like, just make, she knew she was getting ready to pass. And she said, Danny, I want race cars at my viewing, and I want Jimmy Blewett's race car especially at my viewing. He's like, Danny Serrano just called me. They want the tour modified at the viewing tonight. He's like, my flatbed isn't working. The PTO switch is broke. I need your flatbed. Right away, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Go to my house. The keys are here. The keys are there. Just go grab it. Then I call him back. I'm like, Jimmy, hold on a second. My tow truck's not even at my house. It's over at Barney's. I left it there to get tires on. I said, I'm not sure if it even has tires on it right now. It might be when Jack stands all the wheels off it. So I called over to Barney's and got a hold of Jeff Lane, who owns the Sportsman Modified. His son Eric drives. Here we are with the racing world, how tight of a circle it is. I got a hold of Jeff Lane. I said, hey, did Robert Barney put the tires on my truck yet? He's like, no, Robert called out sick today. He was very sick, so he didn't come in to do it. Your truck's just sitting here. I said, well, Jimmy Blewett needs it. He's coming to get it. Can you put the key in it for him? Yeah, sure. So that's the last time I talked. Well, no, I did talk to Jimmy later. So Jimmy took the car. He took my truck. He took the car over to the viewing. So now I don't even know where my tow truck is. So now Jimmy did call me after the passing of my father. He called me Saturday morning. Jimmy's very good to talk to in a time like this because, with the passing of his mother and passing of his brother, and, one of the toughest things you can go through. He was good to talk to. We talked Saturday morning. I never asked him about my tow truck. I never asked him. So so then when we're broke down on the side of the road, I'm like, all right, well, I'll get someone to get my tow truck. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, I don't even know where my tow truck is. I don't know if Jimmy has it. I don't know if Jimmy still has it at the junkyard, or if Robert Barney has it, or if Robert Barney even put tires on it, or if it's even ready to go. Because I'm not coming back to Tuesday. Robert could have took the tires off, dismounted them, and said, well, I'll just mount them Tuesday morning before Scott gets here. So I don't even know my truck's accessible. So now I'm like, oh, now I got to. So I already put on Facebook, I'm looking for something to get my tow truck, get a pickup truck, tow a pickup truck down to us so we can hook the race car trailer to the pickup truck, put my truck on the tow truck, and drive everything home. So as that's going on, still getting a little upset about my dad, getting upset I'm broke down on the side of the road. Things aren't going well. I can't get a hold of any of the Barneys. I can't get a hold of Jeff Lane. I can't get a hold of Robert Barney. Dick Barney doesn't even have a cell phone. I'm trying to get a hold of somebody from Barney's to give me the status of my truck. Thank God we got a hold of Blake Barney. Blake Barney saw our post on Facebook. He's a younger generation of the Barneys. He knew how to get a hold of us through social media. He got a hold of his father. His father was at Barney's in the race shop working on the race cars. He got his father to call us. He's like, hey, Scott, yeah, I got your truck down, man. He's like, and I did one step better for you. He's like, we had a junk car here. We loaded a junk car in the back of your truck. You're pre-loaded for Tuesday morning to go make money. I'm like, oh, I appreciate that, Robert, but I need you to unload it. I'm trying to get somebody to come get the tow truck to come get me. He's like, why, what's up? I'm like, I'm broke down in Maryland. Right away, they're offering everything. We have a dually. We can load the dually on your tow truck. We can tow it down there. I'll do it. I don't care, whatever. But I had since talked to Charlie Kramer because he's a great mechanic, and I was trying to get advice to get this thing fixed, what I could do to get it fixed. So Charlie's like, Scott, I'm in a meeting. My daughter's getting married. We're at the whole meeting, getting a whole booking a hall. Give me 50 minutes. I'll run the tow truck down to you. Todd Pella, another 4-cylinder driver. He reached out to Charlie. He reached out to me. I said, Charlie's bringing my tow truck. He reached out to Charlie Kramer. He said, I'll drive up from Beechwood. I'll meet you at Barney's. We'll load my truck up on the flatbed. I'll ride down with Charlie Kramer and Todd Pella were bringing my tow truck and Todd Pella's truck to bring everything home. But we had to wait for Charlie 50 minutes to get out of this meeting that he couldn't get out of. What was I going to say? Yeah, Charlie, 50 minutes is fine. Whatever you get here. But as that was going on, Jim Davison, another racer, a former a legend car racer.
Yes.
Me and him had a little friendship because he ran the 09. I ran the 09. That's how we got to know each other at the racetrack. He lived in Delaware. He used to race Wall Stadium and drive up from Delaware. I was 10 miles from Delaware. He called me right away. He left a message on Facebook. I didn't have Jim's phone number. I don't know him that well. I just know him through Facebook. And we have camped at the same campgrounds a couple of times too. We got to know Jim and his wife. He messaged me on Facebook just out of blue. Scott, I'm in Delaware. I'm probably about an hour and a half from you. If you need anything, just let me know. And I read it. I said, oh my God, here's a shot of someone getting here sooner and at least getting my race car off the highway. So I messaged him my phone number right there in the comment section. Jim, call me. Not even a minute went by and he was calling me. I said, Jim, I don't know if I'm going to need you. I think I got it figured out. I think Todd Pillow's down on his way down here with his truck and my tow truck. But I haven't talked to him in the last 15 minutes. I said, but just start heading here. Just start heading here. I might cancel you. I might not. But I'm nervous that the cops are going to come and have me towed off the highway. And it's going to cost me $1 million. I said, just start heading here. I said, I got a hitch. He has a brand new dually, beautiful truck. Has a, the 5-class hitch in the back. So then Charlie called me. He was on his way. But before Charlie got out of the meeting, I had another guy call. Mike Winnowitz called. He's known as Trucker Mike at the racetrack. He's actually a crew member for not JC Duvall, Darren Burge and D&D Motorsports. He's like, Scott, I live right by Barney's. He's a truck driver. He's like, I'll jump in your truck right now and boogie down there. And by then I'm like, you know what? Let's not even worry about Todd Pillow's truck. Let's not even worry about, we had Jim Davison coming down. He can haul it. Even if he just hauls it back to his house in Delaware, I don't even care at this point. I'll come back and get it, after I get my truck fixed. So that's what happened. Trucker Mike ran the truck down. Jim Davison showed up. He hooked the truck and trailer up. He took it to his house in Delaware. By the time we were done that we were still sitting on the road for about another hour. Now it's about 11 o'clock at night. We've been on the side of the road for like 4 or 5 hours now. Mike showed up. We loaded the truck up. We drove home. We got home about 2 o'clock in the morning. Nancy was home from the airport. That pretty much concluded our Florida trip. Yeah.
How many people can fit in your tow truck?
3. We had 3 in it. Okay. There's 3 seat belts. There's a air ride seat and bucket seat for the driver, and then there's a 2-passenger bench seat. So all 3 of us rode back in the truck. Jim Davison. So we made it home. Race car still in Delaware. We're going to worry about that another day. Jim Davis is a true racer. He has property set up for race cars. He's got a beautiful garage there. He even offered to put the car right in the garage. I told him he didn't have to. We have a car cover. I just told him to store a car cover. I mean, we drove all through South Carolina and North Carolina through the pouring rain with an open trailer. So I said, Jim, there's really no sense of putting it in the garage. It's already been in the rain, just cover it up.
It's a factory stock.
It's a factory stock.
It has fenders.
So he sent me pictures. The car's in a safe location. He's like, whenever you want to come get it. So today I wake up this morning, I take my truck over to Charlie Kramer's. I tell him I think it's the fuel pump. He brings that, the pressure gauge. We check it with the electronic fuel pump. You should have about 55 pounds of fuel pressure.
I would guess you had like 8.
No, we had 16, and that's why it would start but not run and when it works. So it is the fuel pump. So we're going to fix it. The plan is Saturday, run back down to Delaware, grab the race car, bring it home, and being on time for the podcast on Sunday. That's my whole Florida story. Talking about a roller coaster ride, ups and downs. We had it all, but in the end, it was a great.
It's memories. It's a story.
It really is memories. And Ann Young, she sent me one of the nicest text messages. Diane Krause from Wall Stadium. She sent me a very nice text message. And I know she's got a lot going on with her husband passing away and trying to get the schedule out and get the track opened up. She sent me a beautiful text message. Ann Young, the owner of the track, she's very religious. She sent me a bunch of Bible verses to help me through, which were very nice. What else did Ann Young do for me? There was something else I wanted to say about Ann Young. Thank me for coming down. Thank me for racing. She, like I said, she sent me the pictures, the interviews, all that stuff. One of the other things she did, she said, Scott, if you want next year, we'll make it the Sam Riggleman Memorial Pure Stock Race. I'll make it open competition. We'll get more carts that way from other area tracks. I'll pay $500 to win. Let's make it the Sam Riggleman Memorial Race next year in Florida. So I told her I really appreciate it. I said it is a year away. I said a lot in my life can change in a year, but come Christmas time, we'll talk about it. Maybe I can think of a cool trophy that resembles my father a little bit, the way he raced or something like that. We talked on the other podcast on Motorsports how they had that duct tape race, and the trophy was a bunch of rolls of duct tape. Yeah. So maybe we can, not do that, but something similar to show that my dad was a budget racer. Maybe I'll weld a trophy up, make something out of race car parts, something like that. So she already offered to do that. By then, we had talked to my mom a little bit about funeral arrangements. My brother wanted to stay the rest of the Speedway because the spot for Eric. It costs money to hold a body that long. So we decided to have him cremated, and we're going to have a memorial service on February 24th. This way it gives my brother time to get back from Florida. So I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that when time comes. Mm-hmm. We are having a 2-hour memorial service. I think it's 3 to 5 on a Saturday on February 24th. It's definitely going to be racing themed. I mean, he was a racer. Nancy and my mom are already going through racing pictures, trying to get all the racing pictures together for it. It's going to be very racing themed. It's going to be come as you are. If anybody knew my dad, he never really dressed up. He was always in work clothes.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So if anybody listening or anybody wants to go, if you're working on your race car and you're dirty and you look at the clock and it's 2:30 and you're like, oh, Sam's thing is at 3. I don't have time to get cleaned up. Just come as you are. Just come as you are. Come dirty. Come with wrenches in your pocket. Come with screwdrivers in your pocket. We don't care. He doesn't care. He wanted to care. If you want to dress up, that's fine too. I'm going to be in a suit. So it's a come as you are. This isn't solid yet, but we were trying to get a hold of the Filmon brothers that show racing videos. Mm-hmm. They have a great archive of old New Egypt and Wall Stadium racing movies. We're trying to get a hold of them. We're going to try to have them set up at the viewing, showing old racing movies. It's going to be very racing themed. So, I hope everybody can make it. It's going to be a good time.
I don't want to say we're looking forward to it because of it being otherwise a somber event, but I mean, it sounds like, again, just like with Cliff's Memorial, it sounds like you're doing it right.
Yeah, we're going to do something like what they did for Cliff. We're really not going to do the food, though, because we only have 2 hours. Cliff had a great idea with the food. We didn't really want to copy that. I mean, let the Krauses enjoy that. That was their deal. So we're just going to my mom still hasn't got a hold of the Filmon brothers. I'm sure she will. We're going to try to do like racing movies to keep the racing team going. Another thing we're going to do in lieu of flowers, instead of flowers, if you want to send flowers, you can. We just don't want too many. If you don't want to, we're sending up donations with the Garden State Vintage Stock Car Club. We want all donations, and my dad's name would be sent to the Garden State Vintage Stock Car Club because he was a member. He did have a vintage car for a while. He did do shows with the Vintage Club. So we were going to do the Martin Truex Jr. Foundation also, but it was a little tricky how to get the money to him. It was all through computers, and my mom's not really that good with computers, and it was all through I'm sure we could have figured it out, but we just elected to go with the Garden State Vintage Club and keep it local. I did talk to Big Marty. I did ask him where some of the money went before we donated it. What the Garden State Vintage Club does with their money. They do use it to try to restore old race cars. They do use it to help racetracks. They are helping a little bit with the cost of the repairs at the racetrack, Wall Stadium, to keep local racetracks going. Another thing that he told me is, this is very dear to me and Eric. They do donate a lot of money to the Matheny Christmas party, so that was good to hear. And Marty was in Florida when I talked to him, and it sounded like he was on the beach. It sounded like he was in a tornado, so he was kind of hard to hear with the wind blowing in the back, Well,
he's so high. He's in the
Marty is.
He's up in the upper level winds.
Yeah. Marty was above the tree line, so the wind was blowing up there. But he did say that another thing that the Garden State Vintage Club, Stock Car Club does is they have a oh my God, I can't think of the name of it. When the kids go to college,
like a college fund, a tuition fund.
Tuition, they do a
scholarship.
Scholarship. Yeah, they do a scholarship for people from in Votech school that are going there for auto mechanics. They do, if there's an automatic kid going to vote for auto technicians, they do a scholarship for them. So I told my mom what they do with the money, what the club does with the money, and she agrees. She said that's a great place for us to donate money from Dad too. So that's what we're gonna do. That'll all be set up soon. She's getting the obituary together now, and it's gonna have the in there. But if you want to go on Garden State Finish Stock Car Club thing, or if you want to send money instead of flowers to us, we would appreciate you just sending money over to the Garden State Finish Club in memory of my father, so they know why it's coming in like that.
It's, a lot of people ask me all the time, like, why I fall in love with the racing community so much. And I mean, and Scott, your story on the weekend truly proves why. I mean, everything from the gentleman who read on Facebook that you were looking for red and silver duct tape, and your troubles coming back home, and all the people that reach out to help you. The racing community is really, some people call it a fraternity. I think the better F word is family, and I say better F word because the other F word flies around at the racetrack often. So, but it really is a tight knit family, and this is all proof of that. And in probably one of your biggest times of need that you ever had to face, you were greeted with open arms with so many people that you didn't know, people that you just met for 10 minutes, to people that you've known forever. It's wild, and it's refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, really, the people in Florida, the only connection we had was we were both standing there in fire suits. We were both racers, and like people were offering me anything. I mean, people were going and saying, Scott, I live right down the street. I got a 6-acre lot. If you want to park your truck and trailer there and fly home and come get it whenever you want, it'll be there. It was amazing. It was amazing what people were doing for me down there. It really was. And Josh, going back to, I asked the first person called me was, you said either Elliot Wall or Paul Hartwick.
Mm-hmm.
Elliot Wall did call me. I didn't answer his call. Me and Elliot have a weird relationship. We just bust on each other way too much. I mean, it's over the top. It's to the point now where I don't even know why we're friends. We bust on each other so tough. As a matter of fact, when my father passed away and I posted it, he was calling me. He was calling me a lot. I wasn't answering his call because I wasn't going to let him catch me crying on the phone. And if anybody knows Elliot, he would have recorded me crying on the phone, not telling me. And 3 months from now, he would be putting it on Facebook. This guy crying like a little baby on the phone.
Yeah.
So I finally did answer his call on Saturday because I needed memorial stickers made up for my dad. And Elliot's a great graphic artist, and he was going to make me up stickers, which he hasn't yet. And if anybody knows Elliot, I made a mistake.
Big L, look at a sticker in there inside of Riggleman.
So anyway, I made a mistake in dealing with Elliot. I told him there was no rush to view. It wasn't the February 24th, so I should have it at February 24th at 2:59 before the viewing starts. But anyway, I didn't answer Elliot's call right. I didn't answer Elliot's call right away until I called him saying I need the stickers, and I did talk to him a little bit. And as we were talking, he was trying to get me to cry on the phone, and I said, "Listen, Elliot, you're not going to get me to cry on the phone." Because he kept saying, "Man, it sounds like you're getting choked up." It sounds like you're getting choked up. I said, "Elliot, I didn't call you on Friday because everybody I was talking to, I was getting choked up and crying. I was not talking to you on Friday. I wasn't letting you catch me crying on the phone." So anyway, I got through that conversation. Finally, I had to hang out with him because I was getting ready to cry again. I didn't want him to catch me crying. So I hung up on him, just hung up on him. I said, "Elliot, just get the stickers done when you can." And I hung up on him. And so anyway, so now I'm broke down on the side of the road. Paul Hartwick calls. I'm talking to Paul Hartwick. Elliot Wall calls. I look at my phone. I don't answer the call. A couple minutes go by. Phone's ringing. It's Elliot Wall. I don't answer the call. So now he's messaging me. "Why didn't you answer my call? Why didn't you answer my call?" Don't even answer his text messages. Anyway, I talked to him today because now I'm back in the town. He's got a whole situation. He's got a van stuck in the mud in a field somewhere. He needs me to pull out his tow truck. So I call him. I said, "Elliot, I'm back home." I guess you guys saw that on Facebook too. He's got a whole mess going on.
Oh, it was great.
This for the listeners at home. Elliot got his work van stuck in mud in a field. Then he walked to the house next door, talked the neighbor into bringing their 4-wheel drive truck over to help get him unstuck. Well, that guy got that truck stuck. But then the guy had a Jeep at home. So now the neighbor went home, got his Jeep, bought his Jeep back to try to pull the truck that he originally got stuck in the mud out, and he broke his drive shaft of his Jeep. So there's 3 trucks stuck in the mud over there. So I call Elliot to tell him I'm home with the tow truck and I can go pull him out when he needs me. So he's like, "Scott, why wouldn't you?"
Whoop, sorry. Keep going.
He's like, "Are we out of time? Are we getting played off here?"
No.
Well, anyway. I've been going along.
The tablet said it had enough.
So anyway, Elliot's like, "Dude, why wouldn't you pick up the phone when you were broke down on the side of the road? You could have got my truck. I could have helped you." I said, "Elliot, I didn't answer the phone because, number one, I had a million people already. I already had people on the way. I had a million people calling. My phone, and the crazy part was my phone was starting to die. My battery in my pickup truck was starting to die because we had the 4-way flashers on so long, and we kept trying to get the truck started. So we ran.
There's another battery in the race car. Oh no, you were. I do have
a battery in the race car, and I did have a jump pack with me that I could plug my phone in. But now I'm just trying to conserve energy, and I didn't want a 15-minute. If anybody's ever talked to Elliot on the phone, you can't get off the phone with the kid. So anyway, here's the real reason why I didn't answer the phone, because Elliot would make fun of me for being broke down on the road. He would give me the whole, I told you so, you should have drove over to Florida race. Now you're stuck on the road. He would have rubbed it. I wasn't in the mood for Elliot Wall to rub it in my face. He would have called me and said, are you cold? He would have sent me pictures of him eating a hot meal somewhere. He would have sent me pictures of him laying on his couch, cuddled up in blankets while I'm sitting there freezing my butt off on the side of the highway. You know, Elliot, sometimes you just don't take his phone call. So that's why I didn't take his phone call. That's a little Elliot Wall story.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it all worked out. And the racers are great. I mean, Sue Simpson, you guys all remember Sue. She's married to Billy Bryce. Sue used to work at the racetrack. Sue's been around the racetrack forever. She was like the third person to call me. She's like, Scott, I haven't drove a truck that size in a while, but I'm capable of doing it. I'm willing to go over there and get your tow truck and drive it down. And she was willing to drive down by herself and do it. And then she told Billy Bryce, her husband, what was going on. Billy Bryce's sister is Lisa Bryce, Erm. Her last name's Erm now. Her husband was down there. I don't know if they were racing quarter midgets down there or not. Where they are? Yeah, they were down there racing quarter midgets. They were on their way home too. Lisa Bryce called me right away. Not called me, messaged me on Facebook. They were in the Richmond area. They were a little bit closer than Paul was. They were willing to stop and help, whatever we needed to. I have such a list of people that I called. I had friends that I raced with in New Hampshire message me and say, I got family in Maryland. I got family in Baltimore. I got family in Dover, Delaware. Whatever you need. Joey Payne, another racer, TQ racer, whatever company he works for, he's like, Scott, my business has a branch right there, and they got a security yard parking lot. I can get a hold of someone down there, open the gate, you put the hauler and stuff in there. It was amazing, the people that reached out to me. And by me racing a little bit other than Wall Stadium, racing a little more all over the country, I have met people in every state, and so wherever I'm at, I know somebody, so it works out really good, and Facebook helps out also,
Oh, it definitely gets the word out there, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's my Florida story. I showed you my trophy. I'll show it to you one more time. All this work I did come home with. The thing Eric Brennan has a 7-inch trophy. There it is.
You know what's sad is
Speedway Pure Stock feature winner on it, if you can say. There it is. Bronson Speedway Pure Stock feature winner on it.
I thought I had a productive weekend because I folded my laundry. That's what
You know what? I even had supportive messages like that. Scott, you're the hardest working guy I know I've ever seen in my life. Scott, you're a true racer. Scott, what you did just to go down there and race 2 20-lap features, with a handful of cars, it's amazing. You're a racer. And you know what? All of us are, everybody, takes it a little further than I do. I enjoy traveling. I do it. I didn't even look at it that I drove down there 1,000 miles to race two very, very small races. I went down there to watch modifieds. I bought my race car. It was a vacation. We saw friends that live in Florida. I told everybody, listen, it looks like I'm a super, super racer with this trip, but I went on a mini vacation. I bought my race car with me, and I was able to do some racing, But yeah, everybody that goes to that racetrack is a true racer in my eyes, and everybody that called and reached out to me, and some of them was reaching out, and it almost felt like they wanted to be a part of it. And it was exciting for me that people followed my journey down there, and when I needed help, they just wanted to reach out and say, "Hey, man, we're here for you." And it was cool. And Jim Davison did become a part of my journey. Chuck and Mike became a part of my journey. The Barneys had to open up their shop, and get my truck ready. They had to unload the car that was on the bed of my truck. Jeff Lane called me. He knew where the keys were. Blake Barney, was able to get a hold of his father. And it's everybody. Everybody really helped. So that's pretty much it. We can move on to the Wall Stadium schedule, whatever you guys want to talk about now.
Yeah, well, we're going to move the cashew discussion to the live show on Sunday.
We still got time for that.
Well, no, that'll be Sunday. We'll do that.
Okay.
I want to say, I mean, the Wall Stadium schedule has been posted. We're going to go into that a little bit more on Sunday as well. But I mean, there was just a very early opening date. I mean, compared to the normal April 14th, we got Scott. You said 25 races for the factory stocks. Is that correct?
Nancy counting them up. Yeah, she says there's 25 on there. I haven't had a real chance to look at the schedule yet because we still have that triple race. You know how we have the triple features. It's not 25 weeks or 25 nights, but we have a couple twin races and we do have a triple race.
Yeah.
So yeah, she counted it up as 25, and I think she said a regular season, not including the spooky race and Turkey Derby. So I'm all for it. I mean, when I raced street stocks in the 90s, I remember one year we had 30 features. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean,
let's go racing,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Let's go racing. Yeah. I mean, the only little complaint I have, and it's totally understandable. I'm not trying to, say anything negative about the racetrack or anything like that. The schedule did come out a little bit late, but totally understandable. They had to get the lease signed, and then they had Cliff passing away. And they're starting early. I mean, they're going back to the way Wall Stadium used to be. I mean, I think the last couple of years under the Krauses, we would start in May. Practices would start mid-April, and we would start. First race would be the first weekend in May. This year's it's early. I mean, we got the schedule late, but it's early. The first race is April 14th, and the first practice is the last Saturday of March. So it's time to go. Let's get them ready. Let's go support Diane in the racetrack, and let's go racing. I mean, and then the way I look at it, some people say, "Oh, it's too much racing." Well, they don't have to race them all. If the 25 race schedule is too much for you and you want to do 20, do 20. If you want to do 15, you want to do 15. You want to do 25, do all 25. So I'll be there. You know me. I'll try to have both cars at every race unless I'm.
And
crazy.
We did post a schedule on our Facebook page. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out.
Definitely.
Right, cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's also on WallStadium's website. I mean, I'm glad the schedule's that. The schedule looks great. I did notice she added a Cliff Klaus Memorial Race. It's a 127 lap. It's a 127 lap race, of course, because she wanted to make it 100 laps, and then she had the 27 because Andrew's number is 27, and that's their race number, so it's cool. I mean,
it's like the day that he proposed to Cliff proposed to Diane as well. There's the 27th.
27. Yeah. So there was a good connection there. The schedule looks awesome. I mean, there's plenty of racing. Some people were scared that the late models weren't going to be back. They're on the schedule again.
Yeah.
And like I said before, mechanics race September. We got to get Eric Brendan in one of those cars. So
I think we need to do a podcast race. Scott and I will give you guys half a lap head start or something.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. A few years ago, they had an officials race. They had a mechanics race and an officials race, and I used to enjoy the officials races. I like to see them do that again too. With the fact, or why always use the factory stocks? Why don't they do officials race using the 4 cylinders? You know what I'm saying?
I'll do a mechanics race and a modified. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Oh, no. They want it to to be in one piece when it's over.
Yeah.
I'm not signing the crash clause though.
Your car's over there.
So yeah, I think the schedule looks great, and and spooky races already on there, and the Turkey Derby's already listed.
I was going to say, our features are normally like 25 laps. I mean, a standard feature for a lot of divisions would be 25 laps, and I was thinking it'd be pretty cool this year if they had done 27 in honor of Cliff for all of them. I mean, it's 2 laps.
I don't know of all year, but I was definitely thinking maybe that Cliff Klaus Classic or a Memorial race, they should do us 27 laps. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, 2 laps is not going to hurt anybody on fuel or anything like that.
That's a great idea. They could make all the support division races 27 laps, and then Cliff's race 127. But that's up to Diane. I mean, that's totally up to her. It's her deal, So, but it's a great idea. Maybe you should bring it up to her, Josh. That'd be great.
I don't think it's too much of a change. I think Sam ran to the bathroom. It must have started trickling down his leg or something. So
he did. He ran like.
No, I promise. I know I went. At the last couple of podcasts, I've gone along with my stories. They come to the live show. We're going to have a lot of great guests there. There's going to be a lot of drivers there. We're going to pull in car owners. We're going to do a lot of interviews with drivers. It's not going to be the Scott Riggleman show or the Sam Bellert walks out of the room show. It's going to be a live podcast. There's a lot of great energy when we do a live podcast. We proved that at Motorsports show. We did have some electronic difficulties, but Josh has got that worked out, and we're going to be able to bring a great show. If you're in the area, great. We're going to interview all the local drivers and car owners, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm going to have a little more time to set up for this, so I'll be a little bit better prepared to have my backup recording software and devices going, so that way I don't have that same audio issue that I had after Motorsports, and we're also looking forward to getting to re-interviewing Ted Groh as well. Sam,
that'd be great. Yeah.
Sam, did you need to dry your pants as well?
You guys are still talking?
Since Scott was kind enough to mention it, I want to reiterate once again that we will be at River Rock this coming Sunday, leading you up to the Daytona 500. The event's scheduled to kick off at about 12 p.m. Race goes green at 3 p.m., so we're probably going to be giving you a little more than 2.5 hours of coverage. As Scott mentioned, we'll be talking about the fact that, all these local drivers in the area, one of which may be young Ryan Coulthard, as his family is now vacationing down in Daytona after their run with the Garden State Quarter Midget Racing Club down there. Ryan actually charged up from the D main to finish third on the podium of the A main of his particular final. And I
wanted to give a mention to Paul Hartwig third. Yep. Little Paulie, he won his B main event with the quarter midgets, got into the A main and finished fifth. And this is not a small event by any means. So, congrats to him. Great work. We've seen Paul Hartwig Jr. Run at Speed Weeks before, not with the greatest luck. But he's put all his efforts into his son's racing now, and it's showing. It's amazing what they've been able to accomplish. So, congrats to them. Congrats to the whole family.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you that there's so much going on down in South Florida right now. We'll try to get you as caught up as best we can. Modified race tonight. I saw that Ryan Preece ended up rebounding after his difficulties last night to win over Matt Hirschman. Jimmy Blument finished third in his respective feature, I should say. And the news will just keep on coming out of there. Also, we wrapped up the indoor season this past week. Anthony Payne, as Scott Riggleman mentioned, his father Joey. Anthony grabbing his first TQ win from last to first on the Friday portion of the Albany indoor races. Andy Jankowiak finally got himself an indoor win after running so strong all year long. And Justin Bonsignor ended up grabbing the championship on the TQ side. Your other winners on the weekend were Steve Svida in the slingshots, was Fanda, and Nick Del Campo on Saturday. And on the lone champ car feature on Saturday was Tyler Brown, who won a race that went green to checkers.
And I want to say good job to the champ car drivers. They ran green the whole race. And, the TQs probably didn't make it half a lap.
America, did you make it to Albany? The last show you were on the fence if you were going up there or not.
No, I'm not going. I went out to Long Island with Mikey Montano Jr. and a couple of ladies. We found a dive bar on the Nautical Mile, and we wrapped up that show at about 6 a.m. It was a good weekend. I
don't know if you have the full results on there, but how did our favorite driver, Brett Beaver, do? Was he racing up there?
I didn't get a chance to see it, but
no follow up on Brett Beaver.
There was no Beaver fever here this time.
No Beaver fever in Albany.
At least not for me.
We got to learn more about him. Is it Brett Beaver or Brent Beaver? Do you remember his exact
I think
name?
It's Bieber, like Justin Bieber, like
Beaver,
the pop singer.
Beaver.
I think it's with a B. I think it's. I'll have to look it up. We'll know about the live show.
We'll have to figure out him more. Yeah, that's a great racing name. We need to follow him.
Also, in the America FEA category, how about Shaun White, the snowboarder, wrapping up the 100th all-time gold medal for this great country?
Hey, I don't understand. Y'all tell me to behave on this freaking podcast, but you have a 17-year-old who can curse and say whatever he wants on the damn TV, and people respect him for it. That's bull dinkies.
I didn't even hear anything about that. What happened there?
He forgot his jacket. He was late, sat up watching Netflix all day, and then when he finally won the gold, he shouts the F word into the microphone on live television.
Not Shaun White, just somebody else.
That's exciting.
The 17-year-old kid. Yeah, Shaun White's professional as AF, but regardless of that.
Oh, was it Shaun White that dropped the F?
No, but White did curse in his interview, though. I did read that as well. And apparently he's done that every time that he's won the half pipe. So that's
first world problems.
Everything on the RPM podcast. Oh my goodness! Right. So with that, I think we're ready to go with the live show at River Rock.
Yeah, I'm excited. Pretty much as soon as I get this loaded in and edited real quick, I'm going to be yanking these cables out and loading the truck tomorrow to get everything ready to go over there. I'm super excited. But on that note, I think it's time to see what we've learned today, guys. Eric?
Oh, jeez.
I have something that resembles Scott Riggleman's trophy.
Sam?
That's right. I went there.
I've learned that I don't know. Kyle Larson can't drive for crap. I'm with you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you.
Ladder of an old man.
Scott, what did you learn?
Oh God, I don't know. Race closer to home. I don't know.
I wanted the cashews.
That's going to be Sunday, Sam.
We'll get to the cashews in the next show. I learned it's a lot easier doing the show from my house than driving the way around.
It's nice, isn't it?
I like Ware Town. Leave me alone.
Oh man!
I learned that I will get an apology from Ryan Priest before Sam gets a text about his job.
God.
I learned that you should not let Scott drive your rental car. And I learned that Scott's fuel pump sounds like Eric Brennan.
Hey now.
Hey, real quick, because Eric Brennan doesn't want me to do this. We do have a Patreon set up, guys. His podcast. We're going to keep doing this, but it's not cheap. Any support, go to our website, therpmpodcast.com, under the donate tab, and feel free to get some love in. We do have some extra materials we're working on for you guys. We appreciate the support.
Basically, you can get some extra segments. You can hear Eric complain about his life's problems before we actually start recording, things like that.
My life's pretty good right now. I'm incredibly happy. I'm very, very happy.
That and so much more. Trust me, we're going to get some extra goodies out to you. So just think about that. We also have sponsor packages available if you want your logo up in, I don't know which corner it's in at this point in the video here. But things, yeah. All right, Sam imitating the scarecrow. There you go. But yeah, Eric, take us out.
First of all, Scott, thank you for joining us today after what's been a roller coaster weekend for you, to say the least. And our thoughts and prayers go out to your entire family. On a personal level, I love Sam. He was a great guy. First guy really to ever hold a conversation with me once I started working at Wall. And he always was able to find time when he was running the merchandise trailer. And, once he elected to put the merchandise business aside, and he was still at the racetrack, on occasion with your mom, Carol. And he still always found time to sit and talk. And he loved talking about racing. And so I'm thinking about you and Tim, his granddaughters, the whole family. And thank you for coming on and sharing the story. I know circumstances are tough, but we love you. We got your back, and we're here for you. So I just want to take time. Thank you.
I had a place to share the story with,
Well, we love having you on. You are forever a part of this show, however.
So does that mean I'm going to get my name on the business cards?
Yeah, Sam.
Yes.
That is your job.
The whole nine.
It's not official. My name's on the business cards.
This is too much. I don't get paid for this crap.
Well, Scott, you got yourself in an intro after what, about a week of being after you first. It took me. I was actually checking. It took about 2 months before I put Nick Rendo into an intro after his first. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Well, on a lighter note, we've passed 12 a.m. here on the East Coast time of recording this.
Happy Ash Wednesday.
Happy Valentine's Day, folks.
Oh,
don't forget Valentine's Day, fellas.
Oh, Dine and RPM podcast time.
There you go. On behalf of Scott Riggleman, Sam Ballard Jr., and Josh Matthews, I'm Eric Brennan. Look forward to seeing you all next time. In fact, look forward to seeing you all at River Rock on Sunday. Everything starts at 12. Race goes green at 3. We'll keep you covered end to end. And don't forget, check us out on the RPMpodcast.com. Sam, I hate you. Good night, everybody.